Hey guys, tonight we're going underground, literally. We're not talking basements or subway tunnels. We're talking narrow clay passageways no taller than your chest, hand-dug under triple canopy jungle, packed with punji traps, war secrets, and men who haven't seen sunlight in weeks. Tonight, you're not just visiting the Siuchi tunnels. You're living in them. You're not on a tour. You're a Vietcong fighter, and if you stick your head out at the wrong moment, well, let's just say you probably won't survive this. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop your location and your local time in the comments. It's always amazing seeing where in the world you're listening from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You vanish into the earth. That's the phrase the others use, spoken quietly, like an old prayer or a dare. He vanished into the earth. Tonight, it's your turn. Your orders came just before sunset. You were tending the rice plot when the runner approached, mud on his legs, and a look on his face that said you'd be sleeping below ground tonight. Not that you were sleeping much above it anyway. Not with the sky tearing open daily and the air always thick with the smell of smoke and sweat. You wait until nightfall. The jungle is loud with cicadas and frogs. Somewhere off in the tree-line, a huey rattles across the sky, its blades cutting the clouds like a saw. But it doesn't see you. Not yet. You wait until the sound fades, then crawl to the old termite mound near the edge of the cassava grove. It looks like nothing, just another natural mound, cracked and red, leaning a little from last season's rains. But you know better. Your fingers find a small notch near the base. You dig your nails into the soft clay and pull gently. The false panel gives way with a sticky sigh. Inside is the tunnel entrance, a square mouth barely large enough for your shoulders. No ceremony, no second thoughts. You slide in head first, pulling the clay door back into place behind you. Total darkness wraps around you like a wet shirt. You're inside. The first shaft is vertical. You know to twist your body slightly. Right shoulder first so you don't scrape the wall too hard. There are no steps, only footholds carved by hand and worn smooth by 100 bodies before yours. You feel them with your toes. 1, 2, 3. Then your weight shifts and you drop the final meter into the entry chamber with a muffled grunt. It's not really a chamber, more like an intersection of tunnels, tight and low, all packed with red earth. The scent hits you immediately. Old sweat, mold, damp wood, and something like rusted metal. A lantern sputters somewhere nearby, but it's behind a turn. Here, in the shaft, you see nothing. You wait. Let your eyes adjust. Your ears stretch wider than your eyes now. Above, you hear nothing. That's good. Or bad. Silence can mean a patrol is passing overhead. Careful. Listening. You press your back to the clay wall. You inhale through your nose. Slowly. The earth smells alive. Not friendly, just present. You feel your pulse in your fingertips. You reach to your belt pouch. Inside, a sliver of dried sweet potato, half a clove of garlic, a sewing needle, and a folded map wrapped in wax paper. Your orders say to report to Station 3, Midline Junction, just east of the makeshift classroom. You're supposed to help relay news from the west tunnels. But first you need to get there. You duck into the first passage. No standing here. You crawl with elbows and knees, the roof just inches from your head. Every move echoes faintly, skin brushing clay, boots kissing dirt. It's hot. You're already sweating. The air hangs motionless, thick like soup. You breathe shallow to conserve what little oxygen lingers here. That's the first rule of the tunnels. Breathe less, last longer. A small noise startles you. A faint rustle up ahead. You freeze, heart hammering. A rat probably, or a comrade returning from night watch. You tap the floor twice, soft, rhythmic. It's not a code, just etiquette. A way of saying, I'm here. Don't stab. A reply comes, 3 soft taps from the sidewall. You exhale. A friend, probably TN. He's been on smoke vent duty all day. You'll pass him soon. You reach a fork and pause. To the left, the old shaft, now collapsed. To the right, a tighter tunnel, newly dug. You crawl right, shoulder scraping clay. At one point, your back snags on a root. You stop, Wriggle sideways and push through. Dirt crumbles into your collar. This tunnel dips slightly downward. You remember digging this one just last week. Your hands blistered, the shovel bent, but you kept going because the alternative was being above ground, exposed to the iron rain. Every foot you carve down here is another foot the bombs can't touch. You reach a small node chamber. A lantern flickers here, protected by a bent tin reflector nailed to a bamboo stake. There's a cup of boiled cassava tea on the ground, still warm. Someone's nearby, and then you see her. Lynn. She's sitting cross-legged in the corner, writing something with a stub of charcoal, probably copying a field report on a fresh leaf paper. Her hair is damp, tied back with a piece of black cloth. She doesn't look up, just whispers, "You're late." You grin. "They told me to vanish." She snorts softly and hands you a folded note. "Take this to Station 3. Comrade Fong is expecting it. Then come back. We're boiling rice at the new vent. If the smoke works." You tuck the note into your chest pouch. Then pause. "Any word from the south tunnel?" She shakes her head. "Not yet, but the ground was shaking earlier. Maybe bombs. Maybe tanks." You nod, already ducking into the next tunnel. You pass the makeshift latrine. Just a deep trench lined with planks and a bucket nearby. You try not to breathe too deeply. Sanitation down here is a balance between survival and surrender. Everyone smells. Everything stinks. That's just part of being invisible. You reach Station 3 after 7 minutes of tight crawling. It's a slightly larger chamber, maybe 2 meters wide. 3 men sit inside, rifles propped against the wall. One's cleaning a bayonet with a rag. Another is writing poetry in the dust with a stick. You deliver the message. They nod. You stay long enough to drink from a shared canteen. The water is warm, but clean, pulled earlier from the central well. A cough echoes from the tunnel behind you. Someone's coming. Everyone tenses. Then, friend, a soft voice. Another comrade, crawling in from the rear shaft. He brings news. The Western Scouts spotted a patrol moving toward Grid 11. Dogs. Maybe 10 men. 2 Americans. You swallow. Grid 11 is close to the cooking chamber. The vent smoke might give you away. You and the others exchange glances. No words needed. You're already crawling back. Faster now. Elbows bruising, knees biting into the floor. Every corner threatens collapse. Every breath burns. But you make it. Back to the junction. Back to Lynn. She's already sealing the vent shaft with wet leaves and shifting the rice pot to a new position. She looks up, sweat streaking her face. They know. You nod, and the tunnel sighs with you. You don't sleep. No one really sleeps down here. You just rest between emergencies. After sealing the vent shaft, you and Lynn sit on opposite sides of the chamber, knees nearly touching, but not quite. It's too hot for closeness, even with the flickering lantern throwing shadows on the clay walls like ghosts trying to get in. Your uniform is soaked, sweat pooled in your waistband, underarms, even behind your knees. It clings to your ribs like another skin. Your boots, made from old American tires, have started to rub raw spots into your ankles, but you don't take them off. Not unless you want rats chewing your toes while you nap. Lynn passes you a strip of dry jackfruit. It's chewy, sticky with humidity, but sweet enough to take the edge off your hunger. Your last proper meal was 2 days ago, some rice, salt, and thin fish soup, shared with 6 others in a chamber barely large enough to squat in. You told jokes. One of the kids recited a poem. Then someone vomited quietly in the corner from nerves. You pretended not to hear. A low thump above makes both of you freeze. Not a bomb. Not this time. Just the distant bass of boots. Heavy. Steady. Probably the patrol mentioned earlier. Maybe a dog. You tilt your head and close your eyes to listen better. The dirt acts like a drum skin, carrying vibrations from the surface straight into your cheekbones. They're close. You blow out the lantern. The darkness returns, thick as ink. Not scary, familiar. You've trained for this. Listened to whole books read aloud in pitch black. Cleaned your rifle blindfolded. Moved through full corridors with only a whisper to guide you. You breathe through your nose. Slow. Calm. The heat makes every breath feel like you're drinking steam. Minutes pass. Maybe 10. Maybe 30. Time slips differently down here. Then, a sharp scuffling near your left boot. You flinch. A rat. Or not just a rat, a tunnel rat. You relax when you recognize the rhythm. Short burst, pause, drag. Human, not animal. Probably Trung, the communications boy. He's leaner than a tree branch and quicker than any of you. You whisper his name, and the darkness replies with a hushed "it's me." He crawls beside you, out of breath and mud slick. Comrade Fong says it's safe. The patrol turns south. You sigh. Lin relights the lantern with shaking hands, shielding the flame behind her palm. For a second, her eyes reflect it like glass. Then she looks away and starts boiling water for tea. You think about the jungle above. Right now, there might be American GIs stepping directly over your roof, eyes peeled for snipers, whispering to each other in strange, loud voices. Some of them are your age. Some might even believe in what they're doing. You wonder what they'd think if they knew how close you were. If they realize you're not some ghost of the jungle, but just a tired boy drinking leaf tea underground. You don't have much time to reflect. A new message arrives. Station 5 needs an extra rifle. You volunteer. Not because you want to, because it's easier than thinking. You finish your tea and check your belt. 3 bullets left. Your rifle, an old SKS, is polished but jam-prone. You grab your oil rag and wipe it again. The tunnel leading to Station 5 is lower than the others. You crawl on your elbows, dragging your hips like a wounded lizard. Your back scrapes the ceiling. You learn to flatten your body like paper. There's a section where the floor dips into water, stagnant, brown, ankle deep. Mosquitoes buzz around your neck, and you slap 3 in the time it takes to crawl 10 meters. There's a sharp smell here, urine and clay and mildew. You gag and cover your nose. Someone scribbled a joke on the wall. If you can read this, you're not American. You chuckle quietly. Station 5 is little more than a bulb of open space in the clay. 3 other soldiers sit crouched, passing around a pipe made from bamboo and string. The smoke smells herbal, not opium, just something to calm the nerves. You wave them off and sit near the exit shaft, checking your rifle again. This is your post for the next 4 hours. Your job is simple. Listen. If anything moves in the connecting tunnel, rats, boots, bombs, you sound the alarm. If the dogs return, you crawl back to warn Lin. If the air turns sharp and tight, you grab the chemical cloth from your pouch and press it to your face. Because if it's not dogs next time, it might be gas. They've done it before. Dropped CS gas down vents. Flooded shafts with smoke grenades. Even used flamethrowers once, charring entire sections of tunnel. You weren't there for that, but you saw the survivors. One had no eyebrows left, just burned lines where his eyes used to squint. A fly lands on your lip. You slap it. The sound is too loud. Someone beside you shushes gently. You nod, apologizing without speaking. Everyone here knows that noise is death. You check the ventilation shaft behind you. A bamboo pipe, angled upward and packed with dry leaves. It snakes to the surface, camouflaged as a tree root. You blow gently into it and feel the air move. It's working. You sit back, pressing your cheek to the tunnel floor. The clay is warm. Everything's warm. Your skin never dries. You haven't been dry in weeks. You're not even sure what dry feels like anymore. You remember a rumor from the North Sector. Someone's tunnel collapsed last week. 10 meters deep. No survivors. They say you could still hear tapping for 3 days before the noise stopped. You try not to think about that. You hum softly instead, a lullaby your mother used to sing while snapping beans by the fire. One of the older fighters beside you chuckles. That song again, little brother? You smile. She always sang it when it rained. He nods. It's always raining now. You sit like that for hours, listening, humming, wiping sweat from your eyebrows every 5 minutes. A cockroach scuttles across your lap. You let it go. You stop killing them. There are too many. Better to coexist. Then, vibration. Barely a whisper, but real. You freeze, hand clutching your rifle. Someone, or something, is moving in the next tunnel. The others feel it too. One raises his hand, signaling silence. You crawl toward the echo. It's getting closer. Then, finally, a voice. It's me. Comrade men, bringing rations. Everyone relaxes at once. but the tension lingers in your stomach like a swallowed rock. Min crawls in, his pouch full of rice cakes and crushed peanut packets. He distributes them with a grin, fresh from the surface. They think it's safe for now. You take your share and sit back, chewing slowly. The rice is sticky, a little moldy, but sweet. You savor it. You've survived another watch. But tomorrow, who knows? Your stomach growls again, louder this time, but it's ignored. Everyone's stomach growls down here. Hunger is a constant companion, second only to the clay that never lets you forget where you are. You chew slowly, letting the last of the sticky rice paste dissolve on your tongue. There's no more. You scrape the bottom of the leaf wrapper with your finger, licking it like it might magically refill. Min grins at you from across the chamber. Don't worry, comrade. Tomorrow's ration will be thinner. A laugh bubbles up from someone nearby. It's dry, croaky. You all laugh at things like that now. Grim, humor born of exhaustion. You don't laugh because it's funny. You laugh because if you don't, the silence will eat you alive. You tighten your belt one notch. The last notch. You'll need to cut another soon. You shift your weight and glance down the corridor that leads deeper into the tunnel complex. That's where the others are. Where the corridor bends left, past the supply cell, there's a section of wall plastered with charcoal messages. Names of the dead, initials of lovers, scraps of borrowed poetry. Resistance through remembrance. You scrawl your own when no one's looking. A new name added after every ambush. After every whisper that someone didn't come back. They're waiting for you beyond that bend, your unit. You haven't seen them since yesterday morning when the command gave split orders. Half the group stayed to guard the medical cell. You were sent ahead to scout the vent system and reinforce Station 5. Now you're meant to reconnect. Bring a message. Maybe help dig. Digging. Always digging. You glance at your fingers. Nails caked in red clay. The crescent bed's gone black. The earth never leaves your skin. Not down here. There's no soap. No fresh cloth. Only the occasional drizzle of water from a barrel someone rolled in from a hidden surface well. You crawl on. It's quieter now. Even the rats seem to be sleeping. You pass another side chamber. A girl sits alone inside, maybe 16, thin, sharp-eyed, cleaning her bolt-action rifle with strips of rag. She nods at you, but doesn't speak. She was one of the tunnel-born, never lived a day above ground. Her mother gave birth to her 2 meters beneath an American airstrip. Some say she never cried as a baby. She just blinked and listened. You press forward, your movement's automatic now. Right elbow, left knee. Slide. Breathe. Elbow, knee. Again. The corridor begins to slope. You've reached the kitchen shaft. This is where the morning fires are built. Only briefly. Only at dawn, when the American air patrols are thinnest. Cooking is a science of shadows here. The smoke must disappear before it is seen. Every pot is sealed tight with clay. The stoves, called Hong Cam stoves, are buried beneath layers of stone and packed bamboo. Their chimney shafts snake dozens of meters to the surface, hidden inside anthills, trees, or hollowed logs. By the time the smoke reaches daylight, it's invisible, cold, lifeless. You enter the kitchen chamber. 2 women are bent over a pot the size of a rice bucket. One stirs with a bamboo stick. The other fans the coals with a palm leaf. The smell of sticky rice and dried banana peel fills the room. Your stomach clenches, but you don't ask. Not yet. They're cooking for the field unit. Report. One of them asks, not looking up. Station 5 is stable. No patrols nearby. Good. She ladles a spoonful of broth into a metal tin and seals it tight. Take this to command. They haven't eaten today. You nod. Sling the tin over your shoulder. The strap cuts into your collarbone. Then you hear the high-pitched squeal of rubber saws above ground. You freeze. The women freeze. Everyone hold their breath. Boots. Fast-moving. Stumbling slightly. Then a voice. Vietnamese. A runner. A few seconds later, a head pops through the ceiling shaft, disheveled, dripping with sweat, panting like a dying dog. Command needs you. Now, they're prepping sabotage. You don't ask questions. You grab your rifle, shift your shoulders, and follow him into the darkness. You pass 2 nurses in the corridor, their faces veiled with damp cloths. One's carrying a tray of herbal compresses, banana leaf, and turmeric for bruises. You nod to her. She nods back. No time to speak. You pass the medical alcove next. A young man lies with his foot missing. Clean cut. Tourniquet tied with his own shirt. He's asleep or unconscious from morphine. His brother sits nearby, holding a rag to his forehead, whispering old proverbs. You keep moving. The deeper chambers are quieter. This is where the old ones sit, the grandfathers of the movement, men who fought since the First Indochina War. Their eyes are like well water, deep, dark, unmoving. They sit cross-legged, sharpening blades or whispering into hand radios made from salvage parts. You remember one of them telling you, "The Americans have watches. We have time." You reach command. It's the largest chamber in this branch, 3 meters across, lit by 2 oil lamps. The floor is packed tight, even polished with years of footsteps. Maps cover the walls, hand-drawn in soot and ink, showing roads, rivers, and enemy movements. The air smells like sweat, gun oil, and boiled leaves. Comrade Fong crouches at the center. He's younger than most commanders, only 30, but with scars like someone twice that. He doesn't look up when you enter, just points at the diagram drawn in dirt. There's a convoy expected tomorrow. East Road. 3 trucks. Supplies. Possible officers. You lean closer. He circles a point with his stick. We'll emerge here. Use the bamboo chute. Set the charges before sunrise. Then vanish again. You nod. You know that chute. Dug it yourself last month. It leads from a tree root to the edge of the road, disguised as a hollow log. He hands you a wrapped package. Claymore. American, re-rigged. Careful. The fuse is sensitive. You slide it into your pack, keeping it upright. You leave in 3 hours, Fong says. Sleep now. You nod and back out of the chamber, heart thudding harder than when you entered. Sabotage missions are the most dangerous. Not just because of the fighting, because of the aftermath. Dogs, helicopters, retaliation. They'll raise whole villages to find one exploded truck. You find a quiet shaft. Crawl in. Stretch your legs the little bit you can. Close your eyes and dream of dirt. Always dirt, pressed against your skin, filling your nose, holding your breath like a mother holding her child. You wake before the call comes. You've trained your body to do that now. No sun, no alarm, no rooster crowing outside a village hut. Just instinct, a tension in the chest, a flicker of air shifting in the tunnel. You open your eyes and stare into darkness. The ceiling's so close, you can see every ripple in the clay. You've spent enough nights lying like this to imagine constellations in the packed dirt above you. That patch there looks like a rice stalk bending in the wind. That spot? A rooster's foot. Not real, of course, but you have to make the tunnel feel like something more than a tomb. It's still quiet, the kind of quiet that holds its breath. You ease out of the rest shaft and crawl toward the staging chamber. The floor is warm beneath your elbows. The air smells faintly of boiled roots, sweat, and the smoke from yesterday's rice fire. That smell never quite goes away. You've begun to associate it with safety. The others are already assembling when you arrive. For comrades, all young. One is Lin, tightening the wrappings around her feet. Another is Duan, chewing a sliver of sugarcane and humming under his breath. The fourth is Koi, the quiet one, checking the fuse on his re-rigged American grenade. The claymore you were given rests beside you, still wrapped in wax cloth, marked with charcoal symbols to show its fuse direction. Sleep well. Duan grins. You grunt. Slept on a root. Might be part tree now. Koi chuckles, a rare sound. Lin rolls her eyes and hands out rice cakes. Breakfast, if you can call it that. Rice, mashed with crushed peanuts and pressed into blocks. You eat without thinking, your mind already on the mission ahead. A soft knock on the side wall. Signal. Fong enters, crouching low. He carries no rifle, only his notebook and a coil of string. He sets it down and traces a rough diagram in the clay floor with a twig. This is the road, he begins. 3 trucks, possibly 4. 1 motorcycle, likely scout. He points to a dot marked X. You emerge here through the bamboo chute. Koi and Duan plant charges. Lin and I will stay back. Cover with rifle and fallback route. You, he looks at you, are timing the approach. Watch the wheels, not the men. Detonate on the second truck. They'll expect front or rear. You nod. It makes sense. Fong adds one more line. If they deploy flares, vanish into the second shaft. It leads west. Water corridor. Don't stop, even if it floods. Everyone's silent now. That part? Not in the training manuals. The water corridor is notorious. Waist-deep in monsoon months. Snake-infested in dry season. But it's the only fallback option if the Americans respond fast. Any questions? Fong asks. No one speaks. Good. You leave in 15 minutes. He vanishes as quickly as he arrived. You check your gear again. Claymore. Map fragment. Water cloth. Homemade smoke bomb from sugar tin. It hisses faintly when you crack it. Still working. Good. Lynn grabs her rifle and nods to you. We'll come back, she says. You nod but don't answer. No point saying the wrong kind of goodbye. The crawl to the bamboo chute is long. Nearly 80 meters through tight bends, flooded crawlways, and silence, so thick it swells in your ears. You pass a series of old air vents, thin bamboo pipes sticking up through the clay, camouflaged with leaves and termite hills. One of them whistles slightly. That's bad. You crawl over and stuff a leaf into the opening, whispering a promise to repair it later. You don't know who drilled this pipe. Maybe someone long gone. Maybe someone who died before the tunnel was finished. But it kept the air moving for you, and now you pay it back. You reach the final shaft, the bamboo chute. From the inside, it's just another tunnel wall. But behind a thin curtain of clay lies the exit, camouflaged beneath a pile of brush at the jungle's edge. Beyond that, the road. You wait in silence, crouched with the others, breathing in unison, listening. Lynn hands you a shard of mirror. For watching the bend. You snake it upward, slowly, angling it through the bamboo, opening just enough to catch light. You blink once, twice. There, the road. Empty for now, but you can see the crushed grass and muddy ruts left by tires. They're using this path, probably daily. A bee buzzes past the mirror. You flinch. It lands on the chute lip and crawls over the bamboo, oblivious to your presence. Then you hear it, distant, rhythmic, the low thrum of diesel engines. The birds go silent. Everyone stiffens. They're coming. You lower the mirror and nod. Duan moves first, crawling into position with the claymore. You follow, every muscle clenched. The chute is only big enough for one person at a time. You brace your feet, rifle slung over your back, watching as Koi sets the second charge further down the path. Then, the first truck rumbles into view. American convoy, M35S, canvas covered. You see the helmets through the windshield, the glint of weapons slung casually from arms. They aren't expecting anything. Why would they? The second truck enters the zone. You click the safety off. Your finger hovers over the fuse wire. You wait. Wait. One breath. Two. Now. You pull. The explosion is muffled from inside the chute, but you feel in your chest. Dirt rains down from the ceiling. Duan is already moving, pulling Koi backward. Someone's shouting in English now. Bullets crack through the air overhead. Lin covers the retreat with short bursts from a rifle. You scramble back, boots slipping, lungs burning. The fallback tunnel is smaller than you remember. You dive in head first, the smoke bomb already hissing in your hand. You leave it behind at the entrance, filling the space with thick white fog, enough to cover your trail. The water corridor is ankle-deep today. Lucky, you slosh through it, slipping once and bashing your elbow on a root. Behind you, someone coughs, a deep, painful rasp. Koi, you don't stop. You push forward until the air shifts again, cooler, clearer. You've reached the inner corridor. You made it. Not all missions go that way. Sometimes the fuse doesn't light. Sometimes the Americans fire back faster. Sometimes you lose more than your rifle in the scramble. But today you're alive. You crawl into a side chamber and collapse beside Lin. Her lip is bleeding. Duan holds his shoulder. Koi is coughing but laughing. You smile, and for a second, the tunnel feels like a home. The aftershock sits with you like an extra body in the room. It's not just the sound still ringing in your ears. It's the echo of adrenaline, of dirt-clogged pores and heartbeat thudding so hard it feels like a second pulse behind your eyes. You lie there for minutes, or longer, with your cheek pressed to the tunnel wall, trying to slow your breathing. Lynn is beside you, peeling open a pouch of saline with trembling fingers. She's still bleeding from the lip, but won't accept help. Koi's coughing again. Not hard, not yet, but the kind of cough that sticks to your ribs. He says he's fine. You believe him. Sort of. Someone up tunnel chuckles. You blew their breakfast into the trees. The line gets a few laughs, tired and wheezy. Even you crack a smile. Moments like this, buried under a forest, bruised but breathing. You learn that joy is a currency too. More valuable than bullets. More useful than maps. Without it, the tunnels really do become tombs. Fong arrives 10 minutes later. He doesn't speak right away. Just squats at the chamber entrance, surveying you all. His eyes land on the rifle at your feet, still smeared with black powder and jungle mud. Then on your scraped palms. Then on Lynn's split lip. He nods once. It worked. He opens a battered notebook and makes a few quick marks, one hand holding the cover, the other using a golf pencil worn to the nub. The convoy was carrying dry rations and communication equipment. Scouts say their rear guard is pulling back. Then a pause. We'll strike again next week. The statement sits there like a dropped rock. No question, no request, just reality. You nod. Fong stands, nods once more, and vanishes down the shaft. That's how it works down here. Orders arrive like water from a bamboo pipe. Fast, quiet, no explanation. You spend the next hour resting. Lynn sews her lips shut with a fishbone needle. 5 tiny stitches in the soft lantern light. You offer to hold the mirror for her. She declines. Of course she does. Duan eats another rice cake and hums something cheerful. He always hums after missions. Some say it's a nervous tic. Others believe he's singing for the dead. Koi finally lies down, chest still rattling, but breath evening out. The walls drip around you. Not from rain, just condensation. This deep, the air clings to skin like wet cloth. You lean back and let your shoulder blades soak into the cool clay. For a moment, you think of home. Not the tunnel. Not this cocoon of red dirt and whispers. Home. The wood house on stilts. Your mother fanning the rice pot with one hand while the other swatted mosquitoes. Your younger brother chasing the neighbor's pig through the banana grove. That sound of night insects that didn't mean danger. That freedom of vertical space, to walk upright, to stretch, to lie down without touching both walls. But that life is gone now. Flattened, probably by the same trucks you just blew up. You don't cry. You haven't in months. There's no room for salt in the tunnels. Only sweat and blood. You save the rest for above. Lynn taps your boot. Come on, she says. Vent team's behind schedule. You groan. I just stopped sweating. Then get ready to start again. You crawl after her. The vent team's job is unglamorous but critical. Every fire, every breath, every cooked meal depends on their work. You follow Lynn through a long shaft lined with old wooden supports. Some have cracked. One creaks ominously as you pass. You mutter a small apology to it, just in case. You reach the central vent corridor. It's taller here, almost enough to crouch instead of crawl. Lynn gestures toward a bundle of bamboo poles, all wrapped with twine and sealed with clay plugs. These go to Station 7, she says. New shaft collapsed. They're rerouting the kitchen smoke. Isn't Station 7 underwater? Not anymore. You grimace. She laughs. Come on. Haven't you missed swimming through beetle nests? You load the poles across your back and start crawling. It's slow going. The poles clack with every movement, threatening to alert anything within 50 meters. You whisper curses under your breath. Lynn smirks and pretends not to hear. Halfway there, the tunnel narrows. You have to ditch one pole and return for it later. No choice. The crawl space dips, and soon you're elbow deep in cool, muddy water. Not enough to swim, but enough to make you gag when it sloshes down your collar. You keep going. At one point, a frog jumps directly into your face. You nearly scream. Lynn, of course, does scream, laughing the whole time. Eventually, you reach the base of the broken shaft. Station 7's cooking chamber collapsed during the last bombing run. No one died, but the whole ventilation system filled with soot and ash. You can still smell it, burned bamboo and scorched rice. 2 young boys are there already, waiting with makeshift trowels and twine. They've cleared a hole big enough for your arm. You pass them the bamboo poles and begin helping to reseal the duct line. The work is tiring but rhythmic. Dig, pack, seal, align. You lose yourself in the repetition. It's almost peaceful, like sculpting the inside of a beehive. Only your hive fights back, floods, collapses, occasionally explodes. By the time you finish, your arms are shaking. Lynn hands you a water pouch, lukewarm, slightly metallic. You drink it anyway. Then, from somewhere above, a distant mechanical drone, you freeze. Helicopter. Huey. It doesn't pass directly overhead, but it's close enough to make the clay vibrate. You press your palm to the wall. It thrums like a trapped animal. You wait. Lynn whispers they're scanning again. She's right. The Americans have started using seismic sensors, dropping them from helicopters like steel dandelions. The sensors pick up movement underground, shifts in vibration. Most of them are unreliable, but some get close. Too close. They're hunting blind, she adds. Still hunting, you reply. You both crouch in silence until the noise fades. Your lungs hurt from holding still. The boys don't move a muscle. One of them crosses himself quietly. You begin to crawl back. When you return to the main junction, Fong is there. He nods toward a map fragment. They've dropped flares near Sector 4. We'll move the rice stores tonight. You want to collapse. You want to sleep for 10 hours and wake to a world with ceiling fans and mango trees. But you just nod, because this is the life you chose. Or maybe the life that chose you. As you turn toward the food storage shaft, Lynn touches your arm. Nice job today, she says. You grin. Didn't die. That's the bar. And with that, you vanish into the earth again. You are very tired. Not the kind of tired a nap can fix. Not the kind that comes from a long march or a bad night's sleep. This is a different sort of tired, bone deep and soul heavy. The kind that comes from constantly crawling through earth with nothing but war waiting on every side. But there's rice to move, so you move it. The food storage chamber isn't far, but getting there requires a detour. The main shaft is being repaired. A minor collapse earlier in the week. No one was injured, but a bag of salt was lost. In the tunnels, salt is worth more than money. One comrade cried. So instead, you crawl through the old writer's passage. They call it that because the wall along one section is covered in tiny, hand-etched poems. Nothing political, just fragments. A line about rain on banana leaves. A verse about a girl in a yellow Audai back in Ton Hoa. Someone even carved a full stanza about a water buffalo who preferred shade to duty. That one always makes you smile. You pause for just a moment, trace one poem lightly with your finger. You don't recognize the author's mark. Could have been etched years ago. Could have been yesterday. Time collapses down here. You move on. The rice stores are tucked away in a dry pocket behind Station 9. The chamber is cooler, built deeper, with reinforced walls and a woven bamboo lining to keep the bags from molding. You slip inside and see 3 others already at work. Duan is one of them. He's singing, again, and pretending to dance with a sack of rice like a festival girl. You smirk. Didn't know the grain liked you so much. He grins. I'm the Rice King, brother. Every bag bows to me. You shake your head and begin loading. Each bag is no heavier than 20 kilos, but in this heat and humidity, they might as well be lead. You hoist them carefully, balancing the weight across your back as you crawl. Every movement sends clay dust spiraling into your nose, your eyes, the folds behind your knees. The journey to the new chamber is long. Quiet. Lynn joins partway through. She doesn't say much, just shoulders a sack and follows. Her lip is healing, stitched, and slightly puffy. She gives you a quick glance, then adjusts the strap digging into her collarbone. The new food chamber is smaller, but safer. Farther from the known patrol grid. The others have already begun stacking sacks, making sure the bamboo matting is dry. Someone whistles low. Smells like salt fish. Or Duan's socks, another replies. The laughter is brief, quiet, and welcome. As you stack your second sack, Lynn leans beside you. Do you remember that American journalist? She asks suddenly. You blink. The one they captured near Da Nang? She nods. Fong said she kept a notebook. Wrote everything. Every tunnel. Every smell. said it reminded her of being inside a sleeping animal. You pause, imagining that. The tunnel as a creature, breathing, watching, keeping you warm, but always ready to crush you. Did she make it out? You ask. Lynn shrugs. Historians still argue whether she escaped or was traded. Some say she vanished into the earth. You both smile faintly. When the sacks are all placed and covered with cloth, Fawn arrives with two others. He checks the new location, taps the wall, listens to the echo. Satisfied, he nods. Good. Tonight, we start carving the exit tunnels. Your ears perk up. Exit tunnels? He kneels beside a wall and draws a rough line in the dust. This chamber will link to Sector 12. We need a back door, in case the dogs come again. You swallow. That means digging. A lot of digging. Down here, digging isn't just labor. It's ritual, a kind of whispered defiance. Every meter carved is a meter stolen from the enemy. But it's also dangerous. You remember when Luong was buried last month. Took 6 hours to pull his body out. No one spoke his name for 3 days. You don't hesitate. You grab a shovel. The others follow. The digging shaft is small, barely wider than your shoulders. You lie flat on your stomach and begin scraping slowly, rhythmically. Clay comes up in fistfuls, packed into sacks behind you and dragged away by the relay team. The work is suffocating. Sweat floods your eyes. Your fingers blister. Your elbows ache from grinding against packed dirt. Sometimes you pause, press your cheek to the wall, and listen for vibrations. For insects. For anything that doesn't belong. Once you find a toad, it blinks at you, utterly unfazed, then crawls away into a crack. Lynn crawls in beside you with a fresh shovel. She digs without speaking. Your breaths become a syncopated rhythm in the tight shaft. Hers slightly quicker, yours deeper. It's almost like music. Hours pass. The tunnel grows longer. You break through a softer layer of soil, and suddenly a cool draft kisses your face. Air. Real air. A vent from an older shaft. Maybe an abandoned burrow from months ago. You dig faster. Then, clay gives way. The wall crumbles open into a forgotten corridor. You both freeze. The tunnel is old. Support beams cracked, dust thick on the floor. But it's there. A perfect escape route. Forgotten, hidden, maybe even missed by the Americans' maps. You've struck gold. You crawl in first, lantern in hand. The corridor leads to an alcove filled with collapsed supplies. An old radio, rusted through. A bicycle wheel. A woven basket containing moldy tea bricks. And bones. Small. Human. Curled in the corner. You stop breathing. Lynn crawls in behind you. Sees it. Whispers, they must have been trapped during the floods. There's a badge on the collar. Red and gold. You take it gently and slide it into your shirt. Not as loot. As remembrance. You exit without speaking. Back in the main shaft, Fong listens to your report. He nods gravely. Marks the new passage as viable. The others murmur stories about the lost chamber. Some say it was sealed on purpose. Others claim the flood came faster than expected. No one really knows. You sit in silence, fingers curled around the badge in your shirt. Later, Duan brings you a roasted yam. Still warm. The sweetest thing you've eaten all week. As you eat, Lynn leans against the wall beside you and says, "They say the tunnel remembers everyone." You look at her. "Even the ones it keeps," she finishes. You chew in silence, nodding. Because down here, in the belly of the earth, nothing is ever truly forgotten. You wake to the smell of smoke, but not the alarming kind. This is controlled smoke. Thin, herbal, a faint hint of eucalyptus and lemongrass. You breathe it in slowly before even opening your eyes, registering the scent the way a soldier listens for rifle clicks. It's the medic shaft. They must be burning mosquito herbs again. Keeps the insects at bay, or at least lulls them into confusion. You stir gently, sore from the previous night's dig, every joint in your arms and shoulders screaming. The clay mattress beneath you offers no comfort, just consistency. Still, you're grateful, because you woke up at all. You roll over and see Koyi seated at the chamber entrance. He's running a thin whetstone along the blade of a long knife, methodically, rhythmically. The scraping sound echoes in the cramped space like distant insects. You sit up slowly, brush a fine layer of dust from your neck, and murmur a greeting. He nods, says nothing. That's Koi. Communicates more in silence than most do with speeches. Then Lynn appears. She's carrying a small bundle of cloth tied together with twine. Medical supplies. You know what that means. You're escorting her to the infirmary chamber today. Your shoulders slump slightly, not from dread, but the knowledge of what you'll likely see. Crushed limbs, bandaged stumps, children with eyes far too old for their faces. The wounded are the only ones who get to lie down without consequence. And even then, not for long. Ready, she asks. You shrug, then nod. The crawl is short, 20 meters, maybe less, but deliberately tight. The medic shaft is built like a bottleneck to keep air controlled and infection minimized. At the entrance, a nurse hands you both thin cloth masks soaked in tamarind vinegar. You tie yours over your nose and mouth and crawl in. The infirmary is dim. Lantern light flickers from clay shelves where rolled bandages and dried herbs sit in neat bundles. On the floor lie 3 wounded comrades, 2 boys, 1 girl, each no older than 20. All of them injured in last week's supply run. One has a leg packed in clay and bound with wire. Another has an arm missing entirely, bandaged with banana leaf and soot paste. The girl has her head wrapped tight, eyes closed, lips moving like she's reciting poetry in her sleep. You feel your stomach lurch, but hold it in. Lynn approaches the older medic, a woman they call Auntie Jong. No one knows if she's actually anyone's aunt, but she carries herself like she raised the entire war effort. She accepts the cloth bundle from Lynn with a grunt. More alcohol? Lynn shakes her head. Boiled water. Vinegar. Cotton. 1 root of gum. Auntie Jong sniffs it. Smells weak. Like Duan's politics. You cough to hide a laugh. Then the girl stirs. Her lips part, and she says, clear as any bell, "Did the tunnel hold?" Everyone goes quiet. Lynn kneels beside her. Yes, Chi. The tunnel held. The girl sighs and slips back into sleep. Auntie Jong raises an eyebrow. She was in the south shaft when it caved. Helped dig 2 others out before blacking out. Haven't seen courage like that since Tay Nin. You look at her face again. Young. Too young. But in these tunnels, age is just a number scratched into a muddy wall. You're all just breath and resolve here. No birthdays. No celebrations. Just survival. As you stand, the air shifts again. A distant thump. Then another. Everyone freezes. You don't speak. You just feel the vibration in your knees. Bombing run. Auntie Jong moves fast. She throws a cloth over the lantern and grabs the girl's stretcher. You rush to help. Lynn takes the arm of the legless boy. Someone else lifts the youngest on his back. There's a quiet system, a kind of muscle memory. The fallback chamber is deeper, heavily reinforced. You crawl fast, dragging the stretcher behind you. The girl moans once, but doesn't wake. Dust begins to rain from the ceiling. Another thump. Closer. Your ears ring. You count the distance by sound now. One explosion was at least 300 meters. The next? Maybe 150. You make it into the deeper shaft and huddle together, bodies pressed tight in silence. The walls vibrate like a drum head. Someone whispers a prayer. You close your eyes. Then nothing. No collapse. No direct hit. Just silence. The kind that leaves your ears aching with its weight. A full minute passes. Then another. Eventually, Auntie Jong exhales. Practice run. Or warning shot. Lynn spits. Cowards. You all emerge slowly, dusting clay from your hair, blinking in the low light. The infirmary is untouched, but now the air smells like something burnt. The scent of explosives lingers, even through the damp earth. You walk back toward the main chamber, shoulders tense. You pass the records alcove on your way. A strange place, almost forgotten. Inside, a boy of maybe 12 sits cross-legged with a ledger in his lap, carefully copying a list of names from a scrap of paper onto woven rice parchment. Each name written in ink, made from crushed berries and burnt rubber. You pause and watch. He looks up. Need to record something on? You think for a moment. Then pull the badge from your shirt, the one you found in the forgotten corridor. You hand it to him. No name, you say, but the badge is from Unit 47, maybe 1966. He nods solemnly. I'll mark it as fallen, unknown. Maybe someone will claim it one day. You leave without another word. Back in the main shaft, Duan is sketching something in the dirt with a twig. When he sees you, he grins. Guess who just got tunnel guard duty for the night? You groan. Not me. Oh, but it is you. You consider hurling your boot at him. Settle for sitting down and eating a stale yam instead. That night, you lie in the tunnel guard post, a small nook near the listening corridor. You can hear everything. The roots stretching, the dripping condensation, the distant scurry of feet. Human or rat. You're not sure. You stare into the dark and whisper quietly to yourself. Did the tunnel hold? Yes. Yes, it always does. For now. You begin your shift in total silence, lying belly down with your ear pressed against the clay. The tunnel listening post is narrow, barely wider than your ribs, and fortified with old bamboo panels to mask your body heat. You're not meant to move here. Just listen. Record. Report. The silence isn't empty. It's dense, textured. You learn, over time, to distinguish its layers. The deep pulsing sound? That's groundwater shifting between chambers. The faint rattling scratch? Probably a rat nest, about 4 meters down shaft. The hollow reverberation, like wind slapping canvas? That's air pressure from one of the surface vents adjusting with the night. You close your eyes and settle in. Then you hear it. A click. Sharp. Metallic. Close. You hold your breath. Another. It's not movement, not footsteps or digging. It's too regular, too intentional. A signal. You shift slowly, reaching into your tuna pocket for the bamboo listening cone. A crude but effective tool shaped like a funnel. You press it gently against the chamber wall, cupping the narrow into your ear. Click, click, click. Pause. Click, click, click. You frown. Code. You whisper down the shaft. Incoming signal, Western Clay Line. Sounds like taps, maybe Morse. Moments later, Duan crawls in behind you, clutching a hand-drawn code sheet. You pass the sequence again. Click, 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 click. Duan's face pales. It's ours, he says. A field unit. Lost. Trying to find a fallback chamber. Where? He taps the wall above your head. That way. Sector 11. They're near the old termite vent. You nod, already moving. No hesitation. You and Duan grab your lanterns and the backup breathing cloths. Thin layers soaked in charcoal and dried salt to filter out dust. You'll need them if you go deep enough. The path to Sector 11 is largely abandoned, rarely maintained, and half collapsed during the last flood cycle. No one's used it in months. But someone's trapped out there, and they still know the click code. That means they used to be here. You crawl in complete darkness for what feels like an hour. The tunnel gets tighter. At one point, your left boot snags on a tree root so thick it feels like a snake. You tug hard. It gives way, and the wall above you crumbles slightly. You freeze. Duan catches up. Careful. These tunnels are more skeleton than structure. You move more slowly after that. Eventually, the air gets cooler. Mustier. You're close. Then movement. A voice. Weak. Dry. You blink into the dark and whisper, "Comrade." A gasp. "Here. We're here." Clay fell in. "We can't dig through." You push forward and finally see them. 2 young men buried behind a half-collapsed shaft wall. Only their hands and faces are visible through the dirt. One has blood on his temple. The other looks half-conscious. Duan doesn't waste time. He hands you a spade and begins digging barehanded. You follow, scooping away clay as fast as you can without triggering another collapse. "Easy. Support the upper ridge. Pull down low," he mutters. You obey. After several minutes of careful, sweaty excavation, the upper wall loosens. You brace it with an old bamboo frame. Enough space opens for one soldier to crawl out. You grab his hand and pull. He's light, starved most likely, smells like copper and mold. You drag him into the side shaft and give him your water pouch. He gulps it down with both hands, shaking. The second man, smaller, is unconscious. Duan lifts him across his shoulders and begins to crawl back. You follow, heart pounding. Every few meters, you listen again. No bombs, no dogs, no helicopters, just Earth. Back in the infirmary, Auntie Zhang mutters as she checks them over. Idiots. Why were they even in that sector? You give her the only answer you have. They were trying to find their way home. She doesn't reply. Just starts stitching. Later, Fong appears. He asks for the full report. You give it, tired and still coated in red clay. He nods, then says something that makes your heart jolt. We'll have to reopen the old termite shaft. You stare at him. That shaft collapsed last year. He shrugs. Still our ground. If the Americans patrol near Sector 6, we'll need an exit. You want to scream. Not out of anger, just fatigue. There's always another shaft. Always another chamber. Always another task. But instead, you nod. When? Now. You sigh and grab your shovel. Lynn finds you halfway down the digging corridor, teeth gritted against a spade handle, hands already blistered. She doesn't say anything at first, just kneels beside you and begins to dig. She's carrying a new canister, rusty, foreign. You glance at it. What is that? Canned ham, she replies. Found it in a downed American Jeep. Smells like shoe polish, tastes like metal. You both laugh. Then she adds, they're moving the officers soon. Into the deep chamber. You pause. What? She looks over. Rumors of a bigger offensive. Americans are bringing new scanners. They can hear our tunnels now. Not just with dogs, real tech. Microphones. You let that sink in. The tunnel just got smaller. Over the next few hours, you help relocate maps, weapons, and document from the command chamber to the deeper rooms. Hidden chambers shielded with extra layers of soundproofing. Rubber tire shreds, wet cloth walls, reinforced bamboo. As you pass the weapon stash, your hand brushes a rifle that isn't yours. American make. Still clean. Probably from a captured patrol. You lift it briefly, test its weight. Duan leans in. Feels weird, huh? Holding their tools. You nod. They spend millions building these. We bury them with bamboo traps and hope the ants don't snitch. You both chuckle, then return the rifle to the rack. Back in the central tunnel, you finally sit. Exhausted, soaked in mud, hungry, and yet alive. Above ground, the war rages. But down here, beneath the trees and bombs, you've carved out something terrifying and beautiful. A world no one can quite map. No drone can fully scan. No foreign general can truly understand. A labyrinth built from defiance. A home with no ceiling. And as the lamps flicker out one by one, and you nestle into your elbow-shaped rest hollow, you hear a faint tap-tap-tap in the distance. Another comrade. Somewhere. Still alive. Still crawling home. You dream of light. Not artificial. Not the flickering glow of lanterns or the slitted beams of filtered bamboo vents. Real light. Sunlight. Streaming between the branches of banana trees. Dappling the rice paddies with gold. You're wading through shallow water, warm mud between your toes, dragonflies buzzing around your head. For a moment, you're not a soldier. You're a boy again. Whole. Weightless. Then something touches your shoulder. You jolt awake, heart racing, fingers already reaching for your rifle. It's just Duan. He crouches at your side, a grin playing at the corners of his lips. Sleepwalking again, you sit up slowly, groaning. The air in the rest chamber is thick and damp. Your shirt sticks to your chest. The earth feels warmer today, as if the ground itself is sweating. No dream, you mutter, rubbing your face. Just the past being annoying. He tosses you a rice ball wrapped in banana leaf. Eat. Command says we're rotating up. That phrase wakes you faster than a bucket of cold water. Rotating up. It means a surface mission. You chew quickly as your mind races. You haven't been above ground in weeks, maybe months. Down here, time bends. You measure days by the smell of boiled cassava or how often Annie Zhang runs out of vinegar bandages. You follow Duan to the ready shaft where Fong and Lin are already hunched over a crude chalkboard. Someone's drawn the local terrain in charcoal, trails, dikes, old French roads now overgrown with weeds. New aerial drop at Point Sparrow, Fong says, tapping the board. Supplies, American. We want what's inside. Intel, you ask. Just this. He holds up a torn memo strip, recovered from a dead scout. The edges are bloodstained. The message reads, 2 crates secure. East perimeter. Jungle grid 22D. Recon delay 48 hours. Which means, Lin adds, we have a day and a half to reach it before the next patrols arrive. And the crates? Duan asks. No idea, Fong says. Could be rations. Could be radios. Could be chocolate bars and Bibles. Either way, we want it. You nod. He continues. You, Lin, and Duan will exit via Shaft Fox. Crawl north. Emerge through the termite mound. Stick to the mangrove edge. If you're not back by sunrise tomorrow, don't come back at all. That's not a threat. It's a reality. Returning after the window could expose the tunnel. If you're late, your home will be sealed behind you. Lin catches your glance and says flatly, we'll make it back. You check your gear. Knife. Charcoal wraps. A single Chinese-type 56 rifle, battered but cleaned. 3 clips. 1 canister of pig fat smoke wax. Camouflage poncho. No dog tags. Nothing that could tie you to the tunnels if you're captured. You crawl for what feels like forever. Shaft Fox is old. Originally carved in '65, reinforced during the Tet push. Most of it's been reclaimed by roots. The last few meters you squeeze through sideways, exhaling with every inch. Then finally air. Real air. Thick, wet, buzzing with mosquitoes. But glorious. The kind of air that smells of stagnant water and crushed leaves. Freedom and danger, all in one. You emerge through a mound disguised as an old termite nest. It's perfect. Mud-baked, veined with false holes, covered in bramble. Even if a soldier walked over it, they'd never guess. You move in formation, Lin point, you center, Duan rear. Each of you steps only where the one before did. The jungle is alive with noise. Cicadas scream overhead. Frogs croak in puddles of tannin-stained water. Somewhere far off, a monkey howls. And beneath it all, the ever-present threat of rotor blades. Eyes in the sky. Every now and then you crouch still, letting a bird call pass, double chirp, long pause, single note. Friendly signal. Other Vietcong are near. Watching. Guarding. By dusk, you reach grid 22D. The crates are there. One is cracked open, probably dropped too hard. Inside, radio parts, metal tubing, and, of all things, plastic ponchos still in their American wrappers. But it's the second crate that matters. A radio, fully assembled, still humming faintly, battery-powered. Duan whistles. This is gold. Lin's already pulling it apart, checking for traps. If we can mimic this signal, we could send their patrols in circles. You hear it before you see it. The click of a boot on wet leaves. Not your boots. American. You drop low. Duan vanishes behind a crate like a magician. Lin rolls into the underbrush. 3 men step into the clearing. American recon. Helmets. Camo. One carries a flare gun. Another has a map board. Their rifles are casual, but they're alert. Too alert. The one with the map speaks. Sarge, it's not here. Somebody beat us to it. No way. Command said 2 crates. 2. Both should be weight. He moves toward the half-cracked lid. Duan springs. In 2 seconds, it's chaos. The first American goes down with a blade to the side. The second fires wildly. You hear Lin's shot crack once clean. The third runs. You chase him, silent, ghost-like, through the vines, your bare feet faster than his boots. When you catch him, he's gasping against a tree, swinging wildly with his rifle. You don't hesitate. Later, Lin touches your arm. You okay? You nod, wiping blood from your sleeve. We need to move. The radio. Take it. Fast. You bury the bodies beneath a fallen palm, scatter the crate shards, and wipe the ground with soaked branches. It's not perfect, but it'll buy time. The return journey is harder. The jungle is thick, your muscles are spent, and every owl's cry feels like a signal flare. But somehow, you reach the termite mound before dawn. Slide in. Seal the hatch. Gone. Like ghosts. Back inside, the tunnels smell like heaven. You crawl toward the comms chamber, deliver the radio to Fong, and collapse beside the water barrel, drinking until your stomach aches. You did well, Fong says. This will help us fake positions across 3 sectors. You nod, but your ears are ringing from the adrenaline. Your knees are cut. Your brain still hears the Americans' gasping breath. That night, you sleep like the dead, but not before whispering a prayer. For yourself, for the ghosts outside, and for the tunnel that took you back. You wake with dirt in your teeth. Not metaphorically, literally. A fine grit coating your tongue and molars. clinging to the back of your throat like the memory of fear. You sit up coughing, spitting into the corner of the chamber. It's pitch black, lanterns long extinguished. You fumble for your flint, strike once, twice, 3 times before a tiny flame flickers to life. You're not in the rest chamber. You're in the trap corridor, and you weren't supposed to be here. Memory drips back slowly. After the radio mission, you collapsed outside the water cache. Someone must have moved you when your fever kicked in. You've been coughing in your sleep, babbling nonsense. Lin mentioned dream talking, and Annie Zhang didn't want you infecting the others. So here you are, alone, with the traps. You hear it then click, soft, deliberate, not far. Your entire body goes still. The trap corridor isn't just named for its defenses, it is a defense. A 30-meter-long section of the tunnel laced with handmade anti-personnel devices. Pressure bamboo spikes, tripwire-triggered spear drops, pitfall covers. It's a last resort, a backup line. And right now, someone is in here with you. You snuff the flame instantly, heart hammering. Silence. Then a shuffle. Bare feet on packed clay. You wait a beat, then whisper Duan. Nothing. Another shuffle. You inch toward the wall, fingers brushing familiar markings. On the left, 3 shallow grooves. You're near the blind corner. If you hug it, you can bypass the floor trigger onto the support beam. Your knee grazes the tripwire. You freeze. Only your breathing moves. You whisper again, this time harsher. Duan? Lin? Fong? Still nothing. Suddenly a creak with flexing bamboo shifting. Something is leaning. Then, finally a reply. Kong Fai Duan. Not Duan. The voice is calm. Hoarse. Unfamiliar. It speaks again. Vietnamese but off. Too clipped. Too flat. Like someone rehearsed it phonetically. Dung Di Chuyen. Don't move. You don't. Then snap. A sharp break. A stumble. A yelp. The trap triggers. A hollow thunk echoes as sharpened stakes spring from the tunnel wall. Then silence. You don't move for a full minute. When you finally relight your flint, you see the shape sprawled 10 feet ahead. 4 in uniform. American pattern. Camouflage shirt. His foot is tangled in the tripwire, and a spike juts from his thigh. He's still alive. Barely. And he's not alone. You hear rustling in the shaft behind him. This wasn't a stray. This was a probe team. You snatch his sidearm, an M1911, and extinguish your flame again. Then you backtrack the way you came, staying low, brushing each tunnel groove like braille. You reach the hatch point near the message shaft. You tap twice, shave and haircut. Your knock. Your code. Duan opens it, blinking. You look like you crawled through a grave. You push past him. Intruders. 1 down. More coming. Lin's already reaching for her rifle. Minutes later, Fong assembles a defense team. 5 of you, silent as termites, deploy along the listening corridors. You set up a cross-trap, narrowed passage with a pressure floor. Lin wires it to a gas flare. Not lethal, but blinding. The plan is simple. Trap, blind, surround, capture or kill. You wait. For hours, nothing. Then a sound. A cough. Muted. American. Maybe from another soldier. The trap triggers. Flare erupts. You charge forward, vision blooming in bursts of orange and green. You capture 2. Both wounded. 1 blind. The other crying. Fong kneels beside them. Expression unreadable. He asks nothing at first. Just studies their gear. 1 carries a note in a plastic sleeve. Tunnel Scout Team, Sector Delta. Engage only if exposed. Log return routes. He grunts. Testing our lines. He turns to you. They breach the trap corridor. We patch it tonight. You nod. Your body is numb. Later, Lin stitches your arm. You must have grazed a rock in the charge. She doesn't speak, but her hands are steady. You watch her eyes more than her fingers. They're tired, dark-ringed, alert. She finishes, pats your shoulder, then whispers, "We're not ghosts anymore." You blink. What do you mean? They're sending people down now. Into our world. Means they're scared. You chew that thought slowly. She's right. For years, you've fought shadows and dropped bombs. Now the enemy crawls. Tries to map your maze. Fails. Bleeds. Screams. You know every corner. Every bend. Every wet patch and whisper of oxygen. They don't belong here. But you do. You are the tunnel now. You return to the blind shaft and reseal the spike trap, this time tighter. The dead American is gone. Buried in the bamboo grove, marked only with a stick. No names here, just echoes. Back in your rest chamber, Duan tosses you a piece of dry cassava. Congratulations, he says. You survive the trap corridor. You take a bite. It tastes like wood, but also victory. And as you lie back, shoulder against red clay, you whisper again to no one in particular. Don't move. And smile. You wake to heat. Not the usual damp, close, swampy kind that clings to your skin like wet cloth. This is heavier. Still, suffocating. The kind of heat that suggests something above has shifted. The air currents changed, the wind stilled. Or maybe, just maybe, it's smoke. You sniff once. Then again. Yes. Faint, acrid, filtered through layers of earth but unmistakable. Smoke. It doesn't belong to your kitchen chamber. No one's cooking this early, and the scent is wrong. More plastic than charcoal. Burning rubber, not firewood. You're already on your feet, boots half-laced, when the first alarm comes. Click, click, pause, click, click, click. 3 long knocks from the perimeter tunnel. The coded signal, fire above. Possible deforestation sweep. American units using incendiary ordnance. You curse under your breath and shove your canteen into your satchel. Outside, the corridor is alive with motion. Runners squeezing past, medics sliding bandages into cloth pouches, Annie Zhang barking orders about sealing the infirmary vents. Fong is already at the map wall. 2 clicks west, near the orchard, he says. They lit it up. Napalm. Probably dropped too close to their own line again. But it's heading toward our termite access point. Your stomach twists. Termite access. That's the shaft you used just days ago. If the flames reach it, the heat could create a chimney effect, drawing oxygen from your entire tunnel network. You wouldn't suffocate. You'd roast. The tunnels, for all their genius, are not flameproof. We seal shaft 7, Fong orders. Sandbags, clay, water cloth. Duan, get the cash. You and Lin are assigned to the emergency airflow corridor. It runs laterally, built to redirect rising gases. The idea is simple. If a vent above ground is compromised, you block it and open others to control the internal draft. You crawl fast. Muscles still sore from yesterday's traps, but adrenaline floods you with energy. Every movement is precise now, every breath measured. You reach the vent shaft. Smoke seeps through the bamboo slats. You curse and start unpacking the water cloths, thick layers of soaked fabric treated with boiled leaves and ash. You line the shaft mouth with 3 layers, then smear clay over the seams. Lin is sealing the secondary pipe when you hear a new sound, a whomp above, then a shudder, and finally a whoosh. The smoke triples in thickness. She coughs violently. They've dropped it right on the access mound. You both work faster. Water sloshes, clay splashes, bamboo creaks from the expanding heat. Then the tunnel sighs. It's a sound you've only heard once before, back during the 68 cave-in. The sigh of expanding clay meeting rising temperature. The earth itself adjusting. You freeze, and so does Lin. Fallback chamber, she says. You nod. The vent is sealed, but it won't hold forever. You crawl hard, fast, dragging gear with one hand, keeping low. The fallback chamber is deeper, fortified with thickened walls and triple air filters. It was meant for chemical attack, not fire, but it's better than nothing. You hear shouting in the shaft behind you. Duan's voice. Sector 9 wall gave out. We've got backdraft. Someone else. Get the medic chamber out. Move them now. You pass the ration alcove. Smoke curls around the rice bags like snakes. You pause only to shove the salt bricks deeper into the wall. Worth more than gold now. They'll wick the moisture if the fire draws close. You reach the fallback. It's dark. 3 others are already there, huddled, coughing. One's a girl you barely know. Another is a boy with a bandaged shoulder. You all sit silently, listening to the earth burn above you. The sound is surreal. Not roaring, not thunder, just crackling, like someone's frying bamboo in a pan that never ends. And then another noise. Digging. From a northern shaft. You all stiffen. No one was assigned to that tunnel. You lift your weapon. Lin hisses. Could be the Khmer team. They were supposed to send someone. You wait. The scraping continues. Then a head appears in the shaft. It's not Khmer. It's Thuan. You exhale sharply. He pulls himself in, smoke caked to his skin. Tunnel 4's closed. The vent burst. You can't use it. I saw ants on fire. You blink. Ants. He nods. The mound. It ignited. They poured napalm right into it. You sit back, dizzy. That shaft was beautiful. Carved with care. Reinforced with termite resin. Gone. For a moment, none of you speak. Then the girl with the bandaged arm asks, "What do we do if the fallback fails?" You look at Lin. She looks at Fong, who has just arrived. He answers slowly. "We dig." The room goes quiet. He kneels at the wall opposite the entry shaft and starts tapping. The tone is dull. Not hollow. Bad. He moves over. Taps again. Still solid. Then, 1 more meter to the left, bop. Hollow. He marks it with chalk. We start here. Emergency shaft to Sector 12. It was never finished. But we finish it now. You join him. So does Lin. So does Thuan. The girl. Even the wounded boy. Clay peels away. The air thickens. Someone opens a pouch of dried herbs and burns it slowly. Something to mask the smell of panic. Time passes. No one counts it. Just scraping, breathing, dripping. Eventually, you break through. The tunnel connects. Air flows in. Cooler. Damp. You all collapse in a heap, gasping. The fire won't find you now. But something in you has shifted. Later that night, Fong calls a meeting. Just 10 of you. No orders. No ranks. He lights a single lantern. Then says, "They'll come again. More fire. More gas. More drills. But we'll be here." You nod. You all do. The tunnels may burn. But as long as someone survives beneath them, someone remembers the names carved in the clay, someone whispers the old songs in the dark, the tunnel's still live. And so do you. You're not used to this kind of quiet. Not the thick, smoky silence of a sealed shaft. Not the hissing quiet of damp clay under pressure. This is lighter, open, empty, as if, after the fire, the tunnel itself is holding its breath. 3 days have passed since the napalm drop scorched the orchard and sealed Shaft 7 for good. The tunnel network is still intact, just scarred. Rooms have shifted, shafts rerouted, ventilation rebalanced. But something else has changed too. The noise, or the lack of it. No Americans, no dogs, no overhead thumps. Even the jungle above has fallen still, as if the war took a lunch break no one told you about. And that makes you more nervous than bombs ever did. You spend the morning repairing the communal chamber, a central, low-slung space carved with care years ago. Its clay walls bear dozens of blackened handprints. Everyone leaves one when they join the tunnel network. Yours is there too, crooked thumb and all. You're patching a crack near the floor when Fong enters, dragging a long bamboo tube behind him. You frown. Fishing pole. Breach probe, he says. New toy. You nod, but your mind's elsewhere. Fong notices. You hear it too, right? You meet his eyes. The silence, you reply. He nods. Too much of it. And too sudden. Lin joins moments later with a scrap of intel passed down from an above-ground informant. A boy who sells sweet rice near the American outpost. Patrols have pulled back, she says. No more bombers. No more dogs. You wait for the catch. They're planning something, she adds. Of course, the Americans never pull back for no reason. If they're silent, they're hunting. If they're not bombing, they're mapping. And if they've stopped dropping napalm, then they've probably found something better. That afternoon, you attend a map shift meeting. It's rare to see one. Rarer to be invited. At the center of the chamber, someone has laid out a massive hand-drawn topographical chart, stretching the width of the tunnel floor. Every tunnel, shaft, room, and air pocket is marked in charcoal and red ink. And then, overlaying that, transparent rice paper with faint pencil lines. You see these, Fong says, pointing to the rice paper. You nod. American guesses, he explains. Stolen aerial overlays. They think we live here, here, and maybe here. He jabs 3 circles with a charcoal stick. None of them are correct. They still haven't found the command chamber, Dewan adds. Or the fallback, Lin says. But your eyes linger on one other mark. A fourth circle, half faded near the map's edge, right on the border of the mangrove swamp. You tap it. What's this one? Fong frowns. That's a guess. They call it Echo Point. Been digging there. Maybe testing sensors. Testing what? He shrugs. Sound. Heat. I don't know. But we're sending someone to check. Tonight. Your stomach drops. And you already know who they'll pick. The crawl is brutal. Half the shafts leading to Echo Point haven't been maintained since last summer. Roots have grown thick as arms. Mud walls sag from water rot. At one point, Lin has to stop and use a digging blade to carve a new side tunnel just to get you through. But when you arrive, nothing. No soldiers. No dogs. Just dirt. You crouch inside a tiny observation pocket, peeking through a camouflaged ground slit. Above, you see the edge of a cleared circle, ringed with white chalk powder and red flags. You whisper, "Minefield." Lin shakes her head. Not their style. You see something then, half buried in the center of the chalk ring. A metal pole, thin, unmarked, just sticking out of the ground like a single reed. A listening device. Your breath catches. Seismic? You murmur. Maybe. Or acoustic. The Americans are trying to hear you now. Not find. Not flush. Listen. You back away from the slit carefully, heart pounding. This changes everything. You return to the tunnel fast. Too fast. Your knee scrapes on an old beam, and you stifle a curse. By the time you reach the central chamber, you're panting. They're listening, you say. Fawn doesn't blink. We suspected. They've already placed one sensor. He frowns, then nods. That night, everything changes. The tunnel network enters silent mode. No more communal singing. No more clanging pots. No more banter during meals. Even the children whisper now. Every step is calculated. Every dig is muffled. You wrap shovels in rubber cloth. Reline walls with palm fronds to mask echoes. Certain shafts are declared off-limits, too close to likely listening posts. You become ghosts in your own home, and it drives you half-mad. Auntie John weaves padded saws for the wounded. Duan teaches tunnelers how to hum at a frequency that cancels certain kinds of echo. Fong rewrites the maps to avoid key resonance zones. But you stop dreaming, because even in sleep, your ears are listening. And that's when the hallucinations begin. You hear whispers that aren't there, boots that don't stomp, footsteps that vanish when you look up. At one point, crawling toward the water cache, you're certain a hand brushes your ankle. You spin. No one's there. You return to the rest chamber, eyes hollow. Lin catches your face and gently touches your temple. We're not going crazy, she says. We're adapting. You want to believe her. You do. But in your dreams that night, you see something worse than fire or bombs. You see a tunnel filled with nothing. No comrades. No lanterns. Just you, crawling, forever, toward a silence that listens back. Your ears won't stop ringing. It's not a sound exactly, more like a sensation. A dull vibration crawling through your skull, like the hum of distant thunder buried deep beneath layers of dirt. You lie flat in the narrowest stretch of the command shaft, palms pressed to the walls, trying to feel what your ears can't quite decode. It's the tunnels. They're talking. Or maybe you're finally losing it. The silence phase, now in its second week, is chewing through the morale of the whole network. Not a single word spoken above a whisper. No footfall louder than a breath. Even the meals are soundless, served cold to prevent the giveaway hiss of steam. You haven't heard laughter in 4 days. Even the rats seem nervous. You're summoned to a new station, Tunnel C13, nicknamed the Tailbone. It's one of the tightest shafts in the network, only crawlable on your stomach, elbows dragging through damp, root-choked clay. It was never finished, never named in the official maps. That's why it's perfect now. You're not alone. Lin joins you. So, she whispers through the dark, her voice so faint you feel it more than hear it. This is what it's come to. Talking to each other with our teeth clenched. You smile, sort of. It feels wrong to laugh, even silently. Your new task, counter-listening. You lie still for hours, day after day, mapping where the vibrations in the soil change. If a foreign microphone has been buried above, Its presence subtly shifts how sound travels. Sometimes, the echo will sharpen. Other times, it will flatten. Once, Duan noticed a warmth radiating downward through dry clay. Heat from a buried battery pack. They've gotten clever. So have you. Lin slides you a small bamboo pipe filled with fine charcoal ash. Blow this down the shaft, she instructs. If it scatters too evenly, we've got airflow. A disguised vent. If it curls and clings, it's just dead earth. You test it. The ash puffs, hangs, then splits, curling oddly in two directions at once. You glance at her. What does that mean? She raises an eyebrow. It means they're not just listening. She rolls away and scribbles a quick diagram in the dirt. A vertical shaft. Then from it, tiny horizontal side branches. Like fingers. They're building their own network, she whispers. A fake tunnel system. Tiny. Shallow. Not for people. For wires. Probes. Drones. You blink. Americans. She nods. You feel cold all over. They're no longer trying to find you. They're trying to mimic you. Study how your air flows. How you hide heat. How you move. And eventually, learn to destroy you. They're practicing, Lin says, turning the earth into a spy. That night, Fong orders the cicada maneuver. It's brilliant in its simplicity. You blast noise. Temporarily, just for a few hours. You boil water. Bang pots. Let children sing. You even light firecrackers in a fake exit shaft. It's chaos. And then, dead silence again. The goal? Flood their sensors with junk data. Let them map every sound signature possible. Wrongly. When they try to build traps based on that data, they'll get it wrong. They'll seal dead ends. They'll walk into your ambushes. You return to Tailbone Tunnel that evening, grinning for the first time in days. Lin's there already, scratching a poem into the clay wall. Something short. Something old. She sees you and nods. We flooded the forest with echoes. You nod back. And now? She points up. Now we listen for how they reply. That night, the wind changes. A cool breeze curls through the listening shafts. Unnatural for this season. The scent is wrong. Sweet. Chemical. Your breath catches. Lin. But she's already halfway down the shaft, crawling hard toward the filtration hub. Gas. They're trying to smoke you out. But they didn't count on this tunnel. Tailbone has a trick of its own. A forgotten runoff shaft that connects deep into a former aquifer pocket. Damp, low oxygen, but shielded by thick clay. You yank the reed mat aside and crawl in. Lin follows fast. Behind you, the faint hissing of gas dispersers filters through the shaft, like dry leaves burning under glass. You hold your breath as long as you can. Then the filters engage. Duan must have flipped the switch from Sector 4. Smart man. Old bike tires ground to powder, mixed with vinegar, stuffed into canvas masks. Crude, but it buys you minutes. The gas never reaches your lungs. Just your memory. Because when it's over, and you crawl back into the corridor, you pass one of the younger messengers lying limp near the water cache. His mask slipped. You kneel. His face is calm. Too calm. You place 2 fingers on his neck. Nothing. Lin crouches beside you. No words. Just grief. Later, during the tunnel vigil, you and a dozen others gather around the rice lamp. A clay bowl of cold ashes is placed where the boy would have sat. His name was Tam. He was 15. Used to whistle like a bird every time he delivered ration slips. Now he's part of the tunnel, like the rest. You smear a line of his ash across the wall beside the others. Not a handprint. His fingers were too small to leave one clearly. Just a line, a reminder. And then, in the silence, someone hums. Low, soft. It's the song Tam used to whistle. You and Lin join. Then Duan. Then Fong. No words, just breath and tone. Even if the Americans are still listening, let them. Let them hear your grief. Let them map it. Let them try to understand what it means to mourn inside the earth. Mourning begins with mud in your mouth and someone else's sweat in your eyes. Not poetic. Just the reality of crawling behind Duan through a shaft barely wider than a rice sack. Damp from last night's condensation. Slick with clay. Somewhere above you, maybe 20 meters up, the Americans are rolling trucks through a banana grove, mapping vibrations. You can feel their presence through your elbows. You keep moving. You're on supply rotation today. Not glamorous. Not even particularly dangerous, at least compared to firefights or gas raids. But in the tunnels, logistics are lifelines. You move rice, ammo, medical kits, letters, and hope. Mostly hope. The shaft you're crawling now, nicknamed the spine, connects the old kitchen chamber to a new medical alcove hastily carved during last week's evacuation. The plan is to transport a full crate of quinine pills and 4 bottles of penicillin distilled from moldy orange peels. Priceless cargo, worth more than rifles. Behind you, Lin grunts. If I get stuck, just leave me. Tell Auntie Jong I died, doing something boring. You smile. You know she'll make me crawl back in and retrieve your corpse for bandage practice. True, she sighs. She would do that. At the halfway mark, Duan pauses. The shaft widens slightly. A water cache here, a puddle the size of a dinner plate, caught between 2 layers of compacted clay. Everyone stops and drinks, lips brushing clay. No cups, no ladles. The water tastes like earth. You savor it. Then Duan says quietly, "Did you hear about the surface shift?" You look up. He continues, "They're building a base. Right above Echo Point." You freeze. "Permanent." He nods. "Concrete. Big pads. Supply tents. The works. Looks like they're planning to dig." The implications sink in fast. They're not just guessing anymore. They know. They'll find the listening tunnels, Lin says. Eventually, Duan replies. But not all at once. We've got time. Not much. You reach the new medical chamber. It's barely carved. Walls still rough, roots dangling like jungle hair. A young medic greets you, wiping blood from her hands with strips of cassava bark. There's a boy on the ground, maybe 13, breathing hard, sweat soaking his shirt. Snakebite, you learn. From a crate near Shaft 5. You hand the penicillin to the medic. She nods without a word and injects it fast. The boy groans. You stay beside him as his breath slows. He lives. And just like that, your job today becomes the most important one. Back in the ration alcove, you join a crew boiling wild tubers for the night meal. There's no meat, no salt, just starch and the thinnest chili oil in existence. Still, it's warm, and warmth is a form of morale. Lin sits nearby, darning holes in her sock with surgical thread. She doesn't talk much anymore, not since the gas raid. Duan returns from Sector 9 with a scrap of intel. American engineers have been spotted surveying with metal rods. Not just seismic mappers now, penetration probes. The enemy is no longer searching. They are targeting. Fong calls for a full map review. The senior engineers, most of them former farmers or carpenters turned master diggers, gather in the central chamber with all the old charcoal drawings. Dozens of children are dispatched to guard known air vents and shaft mouths. Everyone prepares for the worst. Then, late in the night, a sound. Subtle, faint, a thump, from above. Then another. Regular, rhythmic, deliberate. Pum pum pum. Duan whispers, "They're drilling." The room stills. Fong signals for silence. Everyone listens. Pum pum pum. They're testing for hollows. Try to pinpoint where the earth rings differently. It's crude, but if they hit an air pocket, you hear Lin whisper to herself, just like the French did in '52, only faster. She's right. The colonial armies tried this, dropping rods and hammers, listening for shifts. They found only snakes and termites. But the Americans have tech now. Radars, sensors, heat scopes, and patience. Fong declares immediate earth masking. You all spring into motion. The trick is simple. Fill false tunnels with layered mud, logs, and stone. When probed, they'll echo as solid. You build one just above the actual command chamber. It takes 6 hours and 3 carts of stolen termite soil. By the end, your hands are blistered, your fingers raw, but the ground sings differently now. Let them hear that. Let them hammer all night. Let them listen. The following day, you're assigned a new task, guiding a journalist. Yes, you heard that right. Not a foreign one. A Vietnamese revolutionary. Young, barely older than Tam. Carried a camera made from an old soapbox. Lens etched from a Coca-Cola bottle. Says he's here to document the resistance. Fong grimaces but agrees. You lead him through the carved veins of the network. He snaps a photo of Annie Jong wrapping a soldier's leg. Another of the mess hall, dozens of heads bent over bowls of boiled nothing. He asks you quietly, "How long can this go on?" You shrug. "As long as it has to." He nods, doesn't push. Before he leaves, he asks to photograph you. You laugh. "Why?" He says, "Because when people look back, I want them to know what survival looked like. Not victory, not glory, just this." He lifts his lens. Click. It doesn't flash, doesn't buzz, just the whisper of film rolling. And just like that, you're frozen. An image of a boy with dirt-caked cheeks and eyes too old for his age, kneeling in a tunnel lit by hope and firelight. A ghost of the war. Later that night, you're asleep when Lynn wakes you. Not with words, with a hand on your shoulder and eyes wide as lanterns. They've found one. She doesn't need to explain. You're already running. You're crawling faster than your breath can keep up. Ahead of you, the tunnel curves hard to the left, Sector 6, the old mess chamber now converted into a decoy medical wing. That's where they've broken through. A breach. The first one. And it means the unthinkable. An American probe found your tunnel. Lynn is just ahead, sliding on her stomach, her boots digging grooves in the clay. You follow close, heart pounding, lungs gulping air that smells faintly of oil and sweat. By the time you reach the breach point, the chaos has already begun. Fong stands beside the opening, rifle slung over his back, holding a narrow reed-wrapped device, an improvised gas flare. Beside him, Duan is crouched low, pressing a bundle of wet rags into the seams around the breach. The hole itself isn't wide, maybe shoulder width, just enough to let one person through. But it didn't used to be there. It's fresh. You can smell the American dirt. It's lighter, looser, laced with synthetic sandbags. A different texture altogether. Someone came down, Fong says without turning. Scout. Maybe two. You glance around. No bodies. No blood. They left. For now, Duan mutters. Or they're circling. Lynn steps forward, her voice barely a whisper. We expected this. We just didn't expect it here. She's right. The mess chamber was supposed to be a fallback. Too far west for probing teams. Too close to the swamp's edge. You thought it was safe. And that was your mistake. Fong signals to the runners. Spread word. Full red mode lockdown. One flare in each vent shaft. If they try to come back in, we seal it with them inside. The runners nod and disappear into the side tunnels. You stay behind. Your orders. Rig the breach for collapse. It's delicate work. You dig a small bowl under the mouth of the hole, fill it with water-soaked straw soaked in kerosene, and pack it with clay. It's designed to burn hot and fast, melting the edges of the hole, making it unstable, but not collapsing the entire chamber. Duan whispers beside you. They probably dropped a scout on a cable. Quick in, quick out. Just enough to confirm the hollow. You nod, but they didn't map all of it. No, he agrees. Just enough. That's the part that terrifies you. Because now, somewhere in a tent lit by halogen bulbs and humming with transistor radios, a group of American engineers are sketching this breach on tracing paper. Measuring angles, estimating airflow, planning how to weaponize their knowledge. You crawl back from the breach point and seal the auxiliary vent with a stone slab. You whisper to Lynn, if they come through again, she finishes for you. We collapse the chamber, and maybe ourselves with it. 2 hours later, you're called to a special meeting in the message shaft. Fong, Zhang, Duan, Lin, and a dozen other core operatives are gathered around a dim lantern. It throws warped shadows against the clay walls. Fong speaks first. They've breached 1 point. The first or more. We'll lose another within days. No one disagrees. He continues. We adapt. That's what we've always done. But we cannot keep doing this reactively. We need to get ahead. Zhang adds. We know their base plans. We know where they're staging. It's time we sent them a reply. Silence. Then Fong looks at you. Tomorrow, you and Lin, we want you to go above. The words hang in the air like clay dust. Go above. Surface. Into daylight. Into the open. The most dangerous mission of all. You nod, but your stomach turns to stone. The next morning begins in darkness. You dress slowly. Surface clothes. black pajamas, woven sandals, a leaf-patterned scarf tied around your head to break your silhouette. Lin does the same. Fong hands you a tube of sticky black sap. Smear this under your eyes. Cuts the sun glare. You emerge at dawn through a termite mound just outside the northern tree line. Your lungs protest the sudden openness, the wet green explosion of jungle light. Everything above ground feels loud. The chirp of birds, the buzz of insects, even the wind is overwhelming. Lin leads the way. She moves with practiced ease, crouching low, slipping between trunks, avoiding brush. You follow, heartbeat steady, every nerve tuned to movement. You're headed to a ridge line, overlooking the American base above Echo Point. Your goal: intel. Measure troop presence. Count antennae. Observe routine. You reach the ridge by mid-morning and lie flat under a tangled net of foliage. Below, the base sprawls like a sore. Concrete pads, metal fences, sandbag towers, a bulldozer, 3 trucks, a raised radar dish slowly rotating. Soldiers in tin uniforms walk between tents. A perimeter patrol circles every 15 minutes, tight and professional. They're not amateurs. You count 4 antennae, 1 dish, and what appears to be a retractable crane, likely how they dropped the scout into your tunnel. You sketch everything. Lin sketches more. You're about to crawl back when something shifts. A whistle, then thunk. A flare lands 30 meters from your position. They saw you. Go! Lin hisses. You're running now, no longer creeping. Through brush, over roots, down embankments. Branches slice your arms. Mud sucks at your feet. Then crack. A shot. Lin stumbles. Not hit. Just caught her foot. You haul her up. You make it to the termite mound just as a second shot rings out, kicking dirt into your back. You dive. Darkness swallows you again. Back in the tunnel. You roll, panting, muddy, shaking. Safe. Barely. That night, you report everything. Fong's face is grim. They're farther along than we thought. Zhang adds, but they haven't found our core yet. You nod. They will. No one says what everyone's thinking. It's just a matter of time. So Fong proposes a vote. For the first time, he draws a line in the clay wall. We collapse the decoy tunnels, send them chasing ghosts, and we move the command chamber. Duan stares. Move it? Where? Fong nods slowly. Down. You all go silent, because down means danger. Water. Rot. No oxygen. But it also means survival. Auntie Zhang places her palm beside the line. Then Lin. Then Duan. Then yours. 5 hands in clay. 5 names that will one day be whispered in darkness. If anyone survives to whisper them, down is darker than you ever imagined. It begins 3 days after the vote. The new shaft, nicknamed the Guts, drops nearly 6 meters beneath the lowest mapped level of your current tunnel system. No one has dug this deep before, not willingly. The air is heavy, moist, not quite wet, but wrong somehow. It clings to your tongue like the breath of a sick animal. You're the second person down. Fong was first. You follow his rope line hand over hand, breath slow, careful not to dislodge any loose clay. The shaft walls groan with pressure, the weight of 100 years of sediment now pushed aside by your foolish ambition. By the time you touch down, your calves are trembling. The new chamber is barely sketched. A circular room, no more than 4 meters wide, scraped into the belly of the earth with metal pails and short-handled hose. 1 oil lamp flickers in the corner, giving everything the sickly orange hue of old bone. Fong turns to you, sweat dripping from his chin. It's stable, he says. You look up. For now, that phrase is becoming the refrain of this entire war. By the end of the week, the Guts is alive. 1 command chamber, 2 sleeping shelves carved into the walls, a message pocket, even a dugout latrine shaft, which no one is excited about, but everyone appreciates. Above, the old decoy tunnels are sealed one by one, carefully collapsed using pre-packed clay bombs designed to make them look freshly destroyed, booby-trapped from within, perhaps, or crushed by time. Let them think the tunnel died. Meanwhile, you thrive deeper than ever. It's harder now, yes. The air is thinner, food spoils faster, and the humidity is no longer damp, it's wet. You wake each morning with sweat pooling in your ears. Your feet begin to rot if you leave your socks on too long. But you're alive, and they haven't found you. Yet, Lynn takes over as map keeper. She redraws everything from scratch using charcoal and soaked rice paper. The new maps have strange angles. You're no longer carving tunnels across. Now it's all down and up, spiral shafts and water traps, counterventilation chambers. The Americans were trained to think laterally. They're not prepared for this kind of three-dimensional resistance. You're rewriting the rules of war. One night, Annie Zhang collapses. She's coughing blood. Fong suspects mold poisoning, the kind that grows in the lower levels, invisible until it blooms in your lungs. There's no medicine, so you send a runner. She's no older than 10. Name's Mylin. Skinny as a bamboo flute. Wears a red thread around her ankle for luck. She memorizes the code phrase and vanishes into shaft 11. You wait 3 days. She returns on the 4th, limping, eyes rimmed red from smoke. The path was watched, she says. They've started fencing. You stiffen. Fencing. She nods. Not barbed wire. Electric. Very quiet. Set into the underbrush. I didn't see it until I smelled the burn on my hand. She shows the wound, blistered and raw. But in her pouch, wrapped in a leaf, is a single dose of powdered mushroom extract. What the jungle doctors call White Death's twin. Kills infection, or sometimes the patient. There's no middle ground. You give it to Zhang anyway. She takes it without complaint, then goes to sleep with a shallow smile. She wakes up 2 days later, pale but alive. She says the extract tastes like ash and old fish. You tell her that's because it is ash and old fish. She laughs. By now, word of the guts has spread throughout the network. Not openly, just in whispers. Some don't believe it exists. Others say it's cursed. Too deep, too dark, too close to the dead. Because it's not just soil you're moving down here. You're disturbing old bones. Halfway through carving a new ration pocket, Duan uncovers a human femur. Not fresh, blackened, dried. You find more. An entire body curled fetal in the clay. A woman, hair still preserved in a braid, tied with woven grass. No one knows who she was. Zhang insists she's from the old war. Not the one you're fighting, but the one before. Against the French, or maybe the Japanese. Fong says to rebury her. You do it with ceremony, not religion, just respect. You wrap her in bamboo matting, then lay her to rest in a hollow chamber deeper still. And on the wall, you carve a single word. Me. Mother. Lin adds a sprig of jungle fern beside it. The tunnel watches. You think maybe it remembers. Despite the risk, new recruits keep arriving. One, named Thuan, was a teacher in Saigon before the war. Now he carries messages between the sectors like it's homework. He knows 3 dialects, speaks Chinese, writes upside down just for fun. He teaches the younger kids math in their off hours, using rocks and beans. One day he asks you, "Why do you sleep here?" You shrug. You learn to dream in the dirt. He laughs, but doesn't reach his eyes. Later that night, you wake to find him gone. His bed is still warm. You track his footprints to shaft 9. They vanish at the ventilation hatch. He never returns. A week later, a sealed envelope arrives from an informant near the U.S. base. Inside, a single page torn from a tunnel notebook. Thuan's handwriting. A list of names, codes, routes. He flipped. You don't blame him. Not really. Everyone breaks differently. Some in body, some in breath, some in loyalty. Fong burns the letter. Zhang says nothing for 3 days. On the 4th, she sharpens every blade in the kitchen. Lin starts carving poems into the walls again. Small ones, gentle ones. One simply says, "We don't sleep beneath the jungle. We hold it up from below." You add your own line beside it. If you hear us breathing, you're already too late. Even in silence, you find ways to speak. To remember, to mark time. Above, the enemy listens. But below you live. You adapt. You go deeper. You wait. You wake to the drip of water on your eyelid. Not uncommon in the guts. Down here, the walls sweat like they're alive, bleeding moisture in slow pulses. You blink, wipe it away, and sit up on your sleeping shelf. Beside you, Duan snores softly. His mouth twitches in some dream you hope he never has to explain. Outside the chamber, the tunnels hum with muted movement. It's day by tunnel standards, anyway. No clocks here. Just meal rotations, latrine queues, and the whispered shuffle of people trying not to be heard. Then comes the whistle. 2 quick notes, barely louder than a breath. It's the code. The Americans have entered the forest. You're on your feet before your breath catches. Lynn meets you at the ration node, her braid wrapped tight in a jungle-patterned scarf. She's already laced into her crawl harness, packed tight on her back. They're not scouting this time, she says quietly. They're probing. Which sector? 5 and 9. You curse under your breath. Those are old sectors. The kind you thought were already compromised. Maybe even collapsed by now. But if they're poking those places, they're not random anymore. They're verifying. And if they're verifying, it means they're getting ready to strike. What's the move? You ask. She hesitates. Fong wants to give them something to find. Your stomach knots. A corpse. No, she says. A chamber. A real one. With fake maps. Outdated intel. Misdirection. We draw them in. Make them think they've won. You know what she's really saying? A honeypot. A sacrificial tunnel. You nod. I'll help dig. For 3 days straight you dig. Not the careful, reverent carving of command chambers or ration shelves. This is rough, ugly excavation. No plan. Just speed. You build a crude chamber near Sector 6B, connect it to an abandoned latrine shaft, and line the walls with half-burnt scrolls of old maps. Some real, most false. Use scatter boots, torn uniforms, old rusted tins. Anything to make it look lived in. You even draft a fake report on rice storage routes, written in code you want them to break. Then you seed it with booby traps. Not explosives. Nothing that would confirm your hand. Just environmental sabotage. Loose clay packed to collapse at a touch. A lantern rigged to spark. A carved shelf balance to fall with a bang when moved. Enough to spook them. Enough to confuse. Not enough to prove. When it's done, you crawl out and block the main shaft with hollow logs and leaves. Then you wait. The Americans find it 2 days later. You're posted at a listening slit above Sector 8 when it happens. The sound is unmistakable. Boots. Not the rubber sandals of your comrades, but the heavier rhythm of American jungle boots. Too even, too sure. Then the voices. Low. Muffled. English. A phrase rises through the clay. Looks like they were just here. You press your ear against the wall. One of them steps onto the shelf trap. Crack. The shelf falls. A shout. Then silence. You hear the boots retreat. Fast. The bait worked. They think they found something. And they think it's gone. Exactly what you wanted. You slip away from the slit and crawl back toward the guts. Heart hammering with adrenaline. Lungs aching for air that isn't stale with heat and secrets. That night, Fong celebrates. Not with a feast. There's no food to spare. Not with song. Too risky now. But with breath. He calls everyone to the water cache chamber. One by one, you sit in the circle, knees drawn up, listening to the stillness. And then he speaks. Years ago, my father told me that the French lost not because they ran out of bullets, but because they ran out of belief. He looks around at you all. We don't run out. Then he does something strange. He breathes. Long, loud. Just one breath. Everyone else joins. A chorus of slow, intentional breathing. Let the microphones hear that. Let them map the shape of your lungs. Let them try to understand what it means to inhale with defiance. Later that week, a new threat arrives. Not soldiers. Snakes. Big ones. Jungle pythons. Drawn to the warmth of the tunnels. Or maybe to the rats. Or maybe, like you, they're just looking for someplace to hide. One is found in shaft 10, coiled around the body of a sleeping courier. The boy survived. The snake didn't. But the panic spreads. Lynn draws diagrams of snake behavior, copied from a textbook once smuggled down from Saigon. Warm-blooded breathers, she explains. They follow air. Light. Scent. You reseal the vent shafts. Burn citronella in sealed fire bowls. Begin marking sleeping zones with chalk barriers. It helps. A little. Mostly, it's a reminder. Even the earth is your enemy now. Then comes a gift. A boy, no older than 12. arrives through a hidden shaft under a cassava field. He carries a tin can. Inside, 2 American cigarette butts, 3 pages from a captured field manual, and a photo. It shows a cross-section of what the Americans think your tunnels look like. You study it by firelight. They've guessed a lot. Rooms, kitchens, medicine chambers. But their layout is wrong. Too linear, too clean, like a house underground. You chuckle. Lin frowns. What's funny? They think we live like them. Fong leans forward. Good. Let's keep it that way. The next day, you begin the spiral. A fake tunnel complex designed solely to mess with their expectations. Loopy, endless circles, dead ends, impossible angles. Like an MC Escher drawing in clay. You build it just deep enough for their radar to detect, but never deep enough to matter. Let them chase ghosts. Let them waste maps. You're no longer just surviving. You're shaping what they fear. You find Lynn that night, tracing your old map with her thumb. Do you think, she whispers, we'll ever live in houses again? You pause, then say, maybe, but they'll feel too open. She smiles. I'll still take one. With a window, and a door that opens with light, not a latch. You nod, and a roof that doesn't weep. She laughs, and for the first time in weeks, you both allow yourselves to imagine a world above, even if only for a moment. Because down here, beneath the jungle, you know the truth. You may never see the sky again, but your war is working, and somewhere a soldier will stand in the sun, smoking a cigarette, and ask, why can't we find them? And the answer will always be, because they've already found us, and we're deeper than your maps can dream. You don't dream anymore. Or if you do, the dreams are shallow, fragmentary, mud walls, low breath, bamboo shadows flickering on skin. Dreams made of silence, of pressure, of waiting. It's been weeks since the last breach. The Americans haven't stopped searching. You know that. The jungle above still trembles with their presence. Boots in patterns, distant rotor blades slicing the sky like some angry god's wing. But they're no longer guessing. They're measuring. One of the runners, Kien, maybe 14, returns from an overheard patrol conversation with a chilling phrase. They're building pressure cages. No one quite knows what it means. But Fong does. They're testing how we breathe. He's not being poetic. You've known for months now that your deepest defense, the air, is also your greatest vulnerability. The flow of oxygen, the expulsion of carbon, the rhythm of collective breath, it's all traceable. And someone, somewhere above, is turning that into a science. So you prepare the breath locks. It's Lynn's idea, adapted from stories she heard as a girl, of monks sealing themselves in bamboo cells to reach enlightenment through oxygen deprivation. You're not seeking enlightenment. You're seeking invisibility. Each lock is a carved chamber with no airflow, but for a single shaft and a corked valve. When an incursion is suspected, you retreat inside, seal the valve, and ration your breath. No airflow, no heat plume, no trace. You train for it. Start with 3 minutes, then 5. Eventually, you can go 8 without fainting. You think of fish, lungs adapting in reverse. Maybe this is evolution. Maybe this is madness. But it works. When the Americans release a drone the size of a basketball, equipped with a CO2 sensor and slung beneath a parachute, you vanish. They detect nothing. The drone never returns. You find its shattered remains tangled in vines a day later. You bury it in Sector 12. Then comes the noise. Not an explosion, not a collapse. A sound, a low-frequency rumble that vibrates through your teeth like a hungry animal. Duan reports it first. He was mapping the spiral when the walls began to hum. Then Lin hears it in the water cache, a tremor that ripples across the surface like a spider's web. Then you feel it. The tunnel is singing. Later that night, Fong confirms the source. They're using infrasonics, he says grimly. Low sound to test hollow density. The Americans have weaponized tone. They've learned how to knock without knocking. But you knock back. You send vibrations of your own. Metal scraps dragged along shafts. Bamboo flutes tuned to impossible pitches. Even the rhythmic pounding of a fake kitchen fire. You lie to the earth. Let them interpret that. Let the Miz hear you. And in the confusion, you build more. By mid-month, the tunnel network has evolved beyond even Fong's vision. The guts now connects to 4 other vertical chambers, each with its own identity. The ribs, a series of ribcage-shaped branches with sleeping berths and clay lamps. The mouth, an entrance chamber with food scraps and chewing tobacco, designed to seem recently used, but isn't. The ears, narrow sound tunnels carved to funnel above-ground vibrations into hollow chambers. The heart, a meeting room so deep it steals your breath. Each has a unique scent, a tone, a rhythm. The tunnels have become alive, a living, breathing, thinking creature. And you're its cells. You carry rice, messages, needles, rumors. And you never stop moving, even when your legs scream, even when your eyes blur from clay dust and lamp smoke, even when your lungs burn. You move, because movement is memory, and the tunnel remembers everything. One night, a celebration. You almost forget what for. Someone whispers that it's the 17th month underground for Lin. Someone else insists it's Annie Zhang's 60th birthday. Someone says nothing and just starts humming. The whole chamber joins in. The children dance, awkwardly, elbows clumsy in tight spaces. Someone taps a metal spoon on a bamboo pole. It sounds like laughter. Even Fong smiles. You pass around a single piece of sugar cane. Each person gets one bite. Sweet, pure. It tastes like sky. Then a message arrives from an old contact in Tainan province. One word, storm. No context. You gather around the message lamp, interpreting. Zhang thinks it means chemical attack. Duan says an incursion team is coming. Lin suggests the unthinkable. They've found the core. Fong doesn't speculate. He simply orders the dispersal. It's the ultimate contingency. You each go separate ways. One person per chamber, per passage, per shelf. No clusters. No families. Even lovers split. If the tunnels are compromised, they'll only catch one at a time. You pack your kid in silence. A ration pack. A clay lamp. A whistle. A string of dried mushrooms. A folded paper with Lin's handwriting on it. If they catch you, don't confess the paths. If they kill you, make them think they've won. If you live, tell them we were never afraid. You press it to your chest. You crawl toward your assigned sector. Alone, the tunnel exhales behind you. Your new shelter is smaller than a coffin. Barely room to bend your knees. You count breaths. Mark time. Listen. 3 days pass. No attack. No breach. No storm. Then the message arrives. Scrawled on wet bark. Slipped through a message slit near your vent. False alarm. American unit rerouted. Heavy rains slowed advancement. Remain in position. You breathe. Laugh. Cry. Maybe all 3. Then you whisper into the clay. We're still here. Because down here, beneath the screaming jungle, beneath the searchlights and the probes and the breathing machines, the war isn't won with bullets. It's won with silence. And you've made silence an art. The rains come, and with them, flood. Not a wall of water. Nothing that dramatic. Just the slow, seeping rise of groundwater. Minute by minute, drip by drip, like time itself turning against you. You're woken by a damp chill on your ankles. You kick, thinking it's a rat. But it isn't. It's the tunnel floor. Sweating upward, you scramble upright, lamp in hand, and step down into 2 fingers of cold, muddy water. It's spreading through the lower passage, sliding in through the clay seams. The earth can't drink fast enough. And this is just the beginning. The monsoon has arrived. Above, the American soldiers probably huddle inside tents, miserable but dry. Here, beneath their feet, you drown inch by inch. You crawl to the guts. Fong is already there, waist deep in water, hauling supplies up to the higher shafts. You felt it? He asks, not looking at you. Woke me like a slap. He nods. Sector 14's gone. 2 kids nearly suffocated. You don't ask for names. Not yet. Maybe not ever. There's no time. Everything below the heart is now off limits. Too risky. The walls are collapsing in slow motion, clay turning to soup. You help move barrels, carry rations, lift Annie Zhang in a sling chair and crawl her 1 painful meter at a time up toward the ribs, which are still dry, for now. Somewhere behind you, a child sobs. You can't tell who. The sound bounces too easily in this place. Like grief. Flooding changes everything. Cooking becomes impossible. No dry clay to bank fires. You switch to cold rations, roasted peanuts, hard rice cakes, dried banana. Duan finds an old jar of pickled lizard. He offers it like it's gold. It smells like vinegar and fear. Everyone eats it anyway. Fire becomes rare. You ration matches. 1 per day. Maybe 2 if someone's wounded. Sleep becomes worse than ever. You lie on shelves carved into half-dry walls. Your body curved like a comma. Muscles locking from cold and clay tension. No one wants to admit it, but you're all sick. Mild coughs. Damp wheezing. Eyes that don't focus right. Lynn says the humidity is poisoning your blood. She's probably right. Still, you whisper jokes. They're not funny, but they're yours. Then one night, gas. Not a full deployment. Just a whiff. A taste. You're in Sector 3, halfway through sharpening a rusted machete when your nose crinkles. You pause. Sniff. Not lamp smoke. Not tunnel stink. Something else. Something acrid. Like burning rubber mixed with metal. You drop the blade. Crawl. Fast. You find the smell again in Shaft 6. Confirm it. A thin, silvery mist clinging to the air, so fine it's nearly invisible. You hit the alarm. 3 sharp whistles. The tunnels come alive. Everyone retreats. Breathlocks seal. Masks go on. Improvise from soaked rags and vinegar clay. Kids are buried in hammocks, strung up in wall pockets, lined with bamboo. Fong orders the wind reversal. 2 fans, hand-pumped, are reversed in flow, pulling air downward into a sealed chamber and out through a sacrificial shaft loaded with charcoal and ash. It works. Mostly. The mist thins. But it lingers. Zhang gets the worst of it. She was already weak. Now she can barely whisper. You feed her honey from a tin. Someone smuggled it in months ago. She drinks it like it's medicine. It is. You press your forehead to hers and promise she'll see the dry season. You lie, but gently. 3 days later, the Americans drop leaflets. Hundreds of them. Through air, through rivers, from helicopters and balloons. They drift like dead butterflies through the trees. You see them through a spy slit near Sector 2. Lin brings one in carefully gloved. It reads, "Asterisk surrender, and you will be treated humanely. Leave the tunnels. The war is lost. Asterisk." You pass it around. No one speaks. Then Duan takes a piece of charcoal and scrawls on the back. Asterisk, we live under your feet. You have no map for that. Asterisk. He folds it into a tiny square, wraps it in dried cassava skin, and sends it out the next message slit. Maybe someone will find it. Maybe no one. Doesn't matter. Sometimes resistance is just writing something down. You move deeper again. New chambers. Narrower. Cruder. The heart is gone. Flooded beyond use. The ribs are failing. You live now in a shaft barely 2 arm lengths wide. 10 meters down, your body twisted like a root to fit. You sleep with your knees against your chest, your rifle barrel against your cheek, and your dreams suspended between heartbeats. You don't miss the sky. You remember it, though. The way light slants. The smell after rain. The sound of wind brushing bamboo. But you don't miss it, because missing makes it harder to stay. And staying is survival. Lin once said that underground, we become more than human. We become myth. And you believe her, because no one else can explain why you're still alive. Then news. From the jungle. A courier arrives with breathless urgency, soaked to the ribs. He carries a whisper. The Americans are retreating, redeploying, shifting west. It doesn't mean the war is over. Not even close. But it means something you haven't felt in months. Time. Time to dig. Time to dry. Time to move up. Fong's orders are cautious. Don't celebrate. Don't resurface. But breathe. And you do. The air still stinks. But it's cleaner. You and Lin clear out the heart. Drain it with bamboo pipes. Mop it with old shirts. Rebuild the ration shelves. Clean the lantern glass. One by one, you re-enter the rooms you had buried. And the tunnel welcomes you home. It doesn't whisper. It doesn't moan. It just waits. And you realize something. These tunnels are more than hideouts. They're more than survival. They're proof. Proof that the small can outlast the mighty. that silence can resist sound, that mud can defeat metal. You run your hand along the wall. You feel the scratches from old tools, the thumbprints of vanished comrades, the pressed palm of someone who slept here before you. You add your own, quietly, without ceremony, and you whisper one word into the earth. Still, you're digging again, but this time not to escape. You're digging to remember. The heart chamber is dry now, barely, but the walls have turned brittle with age. Sun-baked clay, cracked like skin after too much salt. So you carve, not shelves, not tunnels, not traps. You carve names. It starts with Annie Jong. You etch her full name, the one she once whispered to you during ration duty when everyone else just called her Ma Jong. Then Duan's name, in careful, boxy strokes. Then Lin's. You save your own for last, because you're not sure, just yet, that you'll survive to earn it. Outside, the war has shifted. Rumors drip in like the first hints of dry season. Slow, cautious, uncertain. The Americans are pulling out. Talks in Paris. Southern troops retreating. You've heard lies before. Plenty. But this time, the whispers carry weight. Less desperation. More bewilderment. Like even the jungle isn't sure what to make of it. Fong calls a meeting in the newly restored spiral room. It's the first full assembly in months. He doesn't speak loudly. He doesn't need to. We didn't win, he says. A beat. We endured. That's different. Some nod. Others look away. Because he's right. There was no grand battle. No flag raised. No bugle. Just years of dirt and sweat and smoke and loss. But you're still here. Alive. And the sky hasn't fallen. So maybe that counts. Lynn surprises you. She's leaving. Not above, not yet, but west. To another tunnel system, closer to the border. They need medics, she says, packing sal jars into a woven satchel. And I need new air. You understand. You want to be selfish. You want to ask her to stay. But you've both become part of the dirt here, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe too much of you has fused with this place. And if you don't leave soon, you never will. So you help her seal her pack. You walk her to the message slit. She turns before slipping out, holds your hand for one long moment, and says, "If you ever come above, find me." You promise, but you don't know if you're lying. The Americans leave, not all at once, like smoke clearing from a tight room. You hear it first from the trees, silence. No helicopters, no engines, no drone of generators. Just cicadas. For the first time in years, the jungle is louder than the war. A scout confirms it days later. Tents packed. Perimeter's gone. Radar dishes folded. They're gone. You stay underground another week, just to be sure. Then, with Fong's nod, you crawl up through the termite mound entrance you haven't touched since the year before. You blink in delight. It's strange. The sky is huge. Too huge. It presses on your skull like a weight you forgot existed. The sun cuts your vision into halves. You feel in your teeth. You drop to your knees and breathe. Real air. Hot, heavy, but full of possibility. You stay above for an hour. No more. You mark the clearing with a single pebble, just enough to find your way back. Then you descend, back to the tunnel, because not everyone is ready yet. Not all wounds close when the guns go quiet. And down here, you are more than survivor. You're a memory. The tunnel is home, and someone must protect it. A year passes, then another. The war shifts again, political now. Lines drawn by hands in distant rooms. But here, below, everything still matters. You still light the clay lamps. Still ration the dried rice. Still boil root water and whisper into the walls before you sleep. You are the keeper now. Fong is gone. Duan too. New children come. Wide-eyed, scared, unsure what you are. You don't explain. You just show them how to breathe without being heard, how to sleep with one ear against the clay, how to carve a tunnel so it listens. You write their names into the wall beside yours, not in a straight line, in a spiral, so that even if the chamber collapses, some part of them will always remain. Then, one day, you get a letter, folded into a message satchel left at the old spiral shaft. No name, just still breathing, still waiting. Lin, and beneath that coordinates. Northwest, mountains, jungle, possibility. You stare at it for hours. Then you fold it gently, tuck it under your shirt, and begin to climb. Word count, 1,526. 300-word wind down. So now, as the clay settles once more around your feet, and the air grows still and thick with memory, I want you to rest. Let go of the weight of the shovel. Let the mud slide from your fingers. Close your eyes and feel the shape of the tunnel hold you. Gently, like a story that knows all your secrets but judges none of them. The jungle above may heal, or it may grow over everything, vines hiding the old scars like moss over wounds. And that's all right, because someone remembers. Someone always remembers. The silence of the tunnels, the breath hold seconds before probe, the scraped initials on a wall where light rarely came. You lived it. You carried it. You became it. And now, let that memory wrap around you like cool earth, soft, solid, and safe. Take one last breath, deep and slow. Not the hurried kind you learned when running through clay corridors, but the kind that says it's over. The kind that says you made it, wherever you are tonight, whether your feet are buried in dust or your back pressed against a mattress. Know that far below, in some forgotten pocket of earth, a tunnel still remembers your name, and it whispers it back with gratitude. Sleep well, comrade. You're home.